School Board workshop, Monday, March the 2nd, 2026, 8 o'clock, come to order. And open with a prayer to pledge, prayer about pledge my youth this morning.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this day. It's the day you've made. We'll rejoice and be glad in it. Father, we pray right now that you bless our time together. Father, as we talk about insurance, Father, we thank you, Lord, for Ted being here today, Father, and Lord, his team. I pray, God, that you give us great wisdom and discernment, Father, to see what is best for our employees. And Father, we just pray for a good time of talking today. Lord, we love you. Thank you, God, for loving us first. And we pray for our children today. Pray you keep them safe. Be with all of our families today, Father. And pray you be with all of our teachers and staff as they do their thing. Lord, pray that you give them a great day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Moving right along. Next, our presentation discussion, Mr. Beck.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, good morning, everybody. Thank y'all for being here bright-eyed, bushy-tailed on a Monday morning. It was important that we were all here, and I know that we were trying to work out some schedules with them and with us, and it worked out good for this to be the date. So thank y'all for being here. Just want to give you a little bit of background before we ask them to speak. A few months ago, Mr. Keever and Ms. Gunn, our finance director, and Ted and I got together and talked a little bit about what fleet is. I know that Renee sent y'all the brochure on ahead of time. It kind of gives some brief overviews, but we went over the program. There were some challenges at the time, and Ted was very transparent about that, dealing with us being with CHP. CHP has a powerful presence. Would that be the way to say it in our area? And we've been blessed. You know, our folks back in the day really wanted to go to the CHP model after leaving Aetna. I can tell you that healthcare has been something that you as a board member, I know is a thorn in your ever loving side. It was for me. I'll go. I want to just kind of go back and give you a 1 minute, and I'll try to literally do this in 1 minute. When I first started teaching school in 1994 in Wakulla, I paid $7 a month. Guess who picked up the rest of it? Well, it was Wakulla School Board, and they didn't have to pick up but about $100 of that. So it was just crazy. The whole thing was about $107. I think they paid $100, and I paid $7. And then fast forward, I got to the high school here teaching in 95. We were with United Healthcare, and Harold Mumford was the broker back then, and they had been with Harold for a long time. And even when I became a school board member in 02, what I saw in 02, you know, as I was politicking, I was hearing people say, "We need better insurance." So it's always been an issue, always. It will probably continue to be an issue. What I want us to do as a board and as a district to be in a good position to say we are constantly shopping for the best deal, best program that meets, you know, does a couple things, meets the needs of our staff and people who are on the insurance, because not everybody's on the insurance, and that's kind of universal. Some people are married to people who work for the state and they have that, you know, that $30 a month health care plan, which is phenomenal. But I promise you, it's the same insurance that we have, but the state subsidizes that. They pay the other amount over there, and it's still expensive, but they do that. They will not do that for us. We are not state employees, and I have begged since 2002. Is there any way they could? No, it's because we subsidize it, or they subsidize it. The reason they pay that we're part of the Florida retirement system is because we're subsidizing. We're putting our money in. The district matches it. As far as our contributions, or the district's contributions to your retirement, to the employee's retirement and all that. So it's one of those things that we want to try to rein in, because it keeps getting higher and higher, and our ability to fund raises does not go at that same pace. And so what you don't want ultimately is somebody who's just working for insurance. You know, some of your lower paid employees that work maybe a lot less hours, a lot of your non-instructional staff, they just work for insurance. And we know that. We don't like it. but we're trying to fix that. And we don't know what fix is. I'm not here today saying fleet's gonna be the be all end all. But there are some wonderful aspects about it that starts putting us in a different direction. I will tell you this, and I'll shut up and turn it over to Ted. Calhoun County's been in a self-insured model since '85, and they absolutely love it. This is gonna be quite similar to that. This is gonna have a lot more people involved in it, and I'll let him kind of tell you how many other districts have done it. It's worth a big glance, and I think, Mr. Keever and Katie and I were like, absolutely, we need to look at this. So I'm gonna let him kind of explain that. Please ask questions, as long as he's here, we wanna pick his brain for all information. Again, don't feel pressure to settle this today unless where do we sign. We're not buying a Cadillac today. But we do want to get those questions answered, and I want to make sure you feel good about it. If y'all don't feel good about it, then we can still have those discussions on what our next move is on any of it, okay? So Ted Rouse, former superintendent of Suwannee County, great guy. We served together, went to a lot of FADS meetings together. Finally retired as superintendent, became chancellor over that at DOE, and that was we were all tickled to have him there, and then the next thing you know, he's not there anymore. But anyway, he's a great guy. He's one of us. He's a rural guy, and he knows the challenges of rural districts. So I'm gonna turn over to let him introduce John, and we'll go from there.
Very good. Well, good morning, board and superintendent. Thank you for having us here today. The superintendent Teddy said, neither one of us actually, I'll introduce Dave Stevens.
Or Dave, that's that Tony John. Sorry, Dave.
Neither one of us are insurance people by trade. We're both school district people, former teachers, former assistant principals, former district office folks. And this is one of those areas that, as you all know, being in districts is one of those areas that is such large cost driver, right? Where would you prefer that I be? You're more likely to sit or stand.
Where you are is fine. If you want to pull that around, if you need.
I'm good. I'm good. You all okay? We were in one board workshop here not too long ago, and they had a specific place we had to sit. You normally don't have to stand when you went to the board, you had to sit. So trying to be respectful, whatever y'all want to have happen here. But benefits are such a huge driver, right? In the cost of operating district. When you're doing your budgetary process and you work together as a board with your CFO and your superintendent, you don't ever talk about salary in isolation. You don't talk about benefits in isolation. You always say, hey, our salaries and benefits together, right? It costs us X, Y, and Z. And that's why it's important. And I applaud you all for taking a look at every option available to you in terms of solutions for health insurance. Just a couple of quick points, data points. It's no surprise. I think superintendent alluded to it earlier. Going back into the 90s of what costs were. The first slide basically shows you that the cost of insurance premiums over the last several years, going back to 2018, has risen a lot faster than even the cost of living, just the regular cost of inflation. And we know that inflation by itself since 2018 has had those peaks, right? That it's hit every household. But when you look at it as comparison, insurance premiums have risen 45%, while the general inflationary index has risen by 17%. This next slide right here that you see, it's just a snapshot of a survey that was done by Education Week. It was a nationwide survey conducted among 4,400 school districts. And you can see that 75% of the districts year over year are taking anywhere from 1 to 50% increases in their insurance premiums as public entity groups. Again, not surprising. You all deal with the same thing just like I did in Suwannee, where you get that renewal and you buckle up, you try to figure out how you're going to pay for it. How much is the board going to pick up? How much are the employees going to pick up? It's never a pretty thing, but we have to deal with it year over year with those increases. So what is the background of fleet? The background of fleet, the fleet concept or design, initial design was called F-Shipper. And it lived under the Florida School Boards Association, FSBA, through FSBIT. You all are familiar with FSBA and FSBIT, I know. Well, Dave Stevens ran FSBIT for 11 years as the executive director under FSBA. And this program and concept was built during his tenure there with FSBIT. So in April of 2025, FSBIT spun off F-ship to FADS, to the Florida Association of District School Superintendents. And here's why that's important. Every school district in the state, all 67 school districts are members of FADS. But not all 67 school districts are members of FSBIT. FSBIT represents about 14 districts with property and casualty insurance. And so if you are not a member of FSBIT and you wanted to join F-ship, you wouldn't have any representation on the FSBIT board as having a district inside the F-ship program. Under FADS, all 67 have access, and I'll talk about what that looks like and who actually runs and operates the trust. It's not a bunch of insurance executives, it's actually school people and school districts that run a fleet. So fleet in that respect, if you'll go to the next slide, background of fleet, and I hope you don't mind, we're going old school this morning. I like paper and pencil. Give you something to take on to write on and write down questions on, right? The sole purpose of fleet is to provide a health insurance trust that helps bring efficiency, economy of scale buying power. Let's face it, when you're a Liberty, when you're a Gulf, when you're a Taylor, a Swanee, a Lafayette, a Dixie, you only have so much buying power by yourself, right? And so we'll kind of unpack that a little more as to how fleet really supercharges small districts and other districts together to try to get better deals for our employees and for the families that we serve. So what is fleet? I just mentioned it's a health trust. It is a nonprofit health trust, and so fleet as a solution in school districts that come to fleet are working with an organization, fleet, that is a program of FADS, and it operates in a nonprofit space. That's unlike anything that you find in the private health insurance arena. And that's why, quite honestly, I was so attracted to it when the opportunity came to go to work in Montford and for the member districts of fleet, is that it isn't a nonprofit model as opposed to what we usually deal with the for-profit entities, the big brokerage houses and those kind of things. Our sole goal and purpose in life is to bring savings to school districts wherever possible. And we'll explain what that looks like a little more. No surprise to you all, the traditional health insurance marketplace is a complex engine. It's a complex entity that is hard to understand. It has a lot of things that don't operate in the sunshine. They operate in a for-profit space, and fleet really strips all of those things out and makes things clear and transparent for school districts that come into our program. So statutory authority, let me just touch on this real quick. Nobody likes to talk about statutory authority, but it's always important, especially for board attorneys, to understand how fleet operates in a legal space. So 11208 is the Florida statute that authorizes public school districts to be able to help use taxpayer dollars to purchase benefits or good toward employee benefits for their folks that they serve. Number one is that fully insured traditional agent broker role with a school district that brings a fully insured program to a district to participate in. They bring a renewal forward. They say, hey, here's the premium. You all decide how you're going to dice it up between what the board pays and what the employees pay, but here's your renewal. The second bullet there under 11208 provides for a district to vote to go into a self-insured environment where you are independently as a standalone district in the self-insured world, in the health insurance world. What that means is that you take on all the risk. You are actually paying the claims for your employees out of your health insurance fund. You're collecting board contribution, you're putting it in your bank account. You're collecting the employee portion, putting it into that bank account. And then when so-and-so gets sick, goes to the doctor or the hospital, you're writing the check back out and you're paying the claims. So the goal in all that, right, is to make sure you got enough money in the bank to pay the claims that you got year over year to still have a little left over. The state says you got to have a 60-day OIR, Office of Insurance Regulation Reserve, 60 days worth of claims in your savings account at any given point in time in that space. Number 3 is the new piece. It's not new statutorily, but it's new in terms of what Florida school districts will now be a part of, and that is the health insurance trust. That's what authorizes fleet to exist under FADS as a nonprofit. The idea being that you have to be self-insured to participate in fleet, but you're not self-insured by yourself, completely exposed as and that's quite honestly what scared districts away. It scared our district away. We would go self-insured. In Swanee, we were fully insured for eons, for decades, never been self-insured. Finally went that way in 2020, and had some huge successes with that. And so, number 3, though, provides self-insurance program for a school district like Liberty and like our other small rural districts with guardrails and safety exits built in. And we'll unpack that and talk about that a little more. The last little statement there, by joining Fleet, the district is in fact joining its own trust, because this district, obviously, your superintendent is a member already of FADS, and Fleet is a FADS program. So flip the page, and we'll talk a little bit about who's participating. And this is really the part that being results oriented as a teacher, as an assistant principal, the principals, the superintendents. You know, I want to be around things that are producing results. You know, nobody likes to be on a team that's losing. And so I'm very excited about what's happening in Fleet and being able to be a part of this. Given that we started with 3 original districts, you'll see the 3 original districts there were Henry, Hardy, and DeSoto. So when I came on board last May 1st, we had 3 districts, and you know, we met in Senator Montfort. Dave and I talked. Joe Albritton, who is the CEO of Vail, who I'll talk about their roles in this and how they operate in this space. We talked about, you know, what do we need to do? We need to get out the district. We need to get out and talk to districts about what Fleet is and how it operates. And you can see the result of that is what's on this page. We've gone now from 3 districts to 17 districts, with the last 2 being Collier and Hernando in the last month. And you say, well, wow, you've got some districts on there that are pretty good size, like Polk. They have 15,000 employees. Why are they doing this? They see the value in it too. They're getting value in it as well. They're saving their employees dollars as well. And so there are truly savings to be had for everybody. And as this grows and gets larger, the economy of scale only gets better and better. Makes sense? Any questions about any of the districts on here before I move forward? We'll get through this, and then we'll just have open dialogue. I've not much of a set up to just talk to you. I'd rather talk with you as opposed to present. Any questions up to this point?
So how many, so it's the last year that all of these 3 have been added. How many employees was that were added last year?
Well, I think we have over 44,000 among all these. I think Henry, Hardy, and DeSoto represented somewhere around 1,800 employees total among the 3 of them. Is that about right?
That's about
1,800 to 2,000 employees made up those 3 districts.
So this is evolving rapidly, which means the pricing structure model is going to change, has probably significantly changed.
Everything has changed substantially since we've grown from those 3 to now 17. That's correct. Yeah.
And that's just since April 2025.
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct.
Well,
How many more are in conversations to join?
We've got it depends on how you define that. I'm not trying to debate the question. We have people that we're having conversations with. We don't have meetings scheduled like this one. We've got folks that we've met with that had these meetings that are getting ready to take the participation agreement, which I'll explain what that is, to their board in the next 30 to 60 days. We have 2 more districts that we're probably doing from now April 1st. Overall, 18 to 20 additional districts that we're engaged with to a certain degree that are somewhere along the pathway of considering Fleet.
How many more would that add? Have you run those numbers if they are?
I haven't.
Have done it?
I have not.
Okay. I'm sure.
And just for a comparison, I talked about Calhoun, they're doing this to PAC. So at one time, PAC has a self-insured program. Right now, I believe Jackson, Walton, and Calhoun are in that one. I think there were more at one time, some pulled out probably 25, 30 years ago. But that's the consortium that this authorized, they've been a part of that. They're not part of Fleet. However, they're willing to talk and everything. Daryl Jr. came over. I forgot he was the other one that came over when we all met. He came over from Calhoun just to listen as well.
Yep. And we've had meetings in Washington and in Jackson as well beyond those meetings. So we're from the Panhandle, and then on Friday we'll be down in Indian River County, all the way down to Vero Beach for a meeting with their insurance and benefits committee.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much canvassing state as districts invited on the table to talk. Yep.
Yeah. I think it's a good time to talk about the difference between a consortium and a trust. Goes that way through,
Yeah, go ahead. You've got a lot more experience in that space than I do.
It really what, this, was initially, going, as the F-ship program, okay, and it was based on, an interlocal agreement. Okay, which is what the consortium is based on.
Right.
What that does is that limits you though, because whatever the founding county is, or the original one, you have to have exactly the same as they have. Okay, but with a trust, you don't have to, okay, you can all have, you run your individual programs, and then you just come across the top and you cherry pick the good stuff out for you, okay? The stop loss seems a lot cheaper, okay, the pharmaceuticals are a lot cheaper, okay, all those kind of things, they become cheaper when you buy them in bulk, and TED Talks, that's a really good example about that.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, so that's really, you know, when you're looking at, trust is so much different, okay, than an interlocal agreement or a consortium like that. Because it's very limited. With a trust, it's far more broad based where you can really go through and use the economy of scale for you, you know, benefit.
So that means you can pick your own carrier network that you would like to utilize, correct? You're
That's
not,
exactly right.
you're not bottlenecked in one carrier network. So what works better for this area might not work best for South Florida.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And to your point, that's part of the lessons learned from F-ship is that not every school board is going to want to be with the same carrier, have the same plan design. You need that autonomy to be able to decide where you want to go. And currently inside of Fleet, we do have all four of the carriers participating with districts that are members. We have, Florida Blue, United, Aetna, Cigna. Those four, the big four that participate inside of Fleet currently. And so, that still remains your choice. Your plan designs is still your choice. You're setting your deductible with your insurance and benefits committee in terms of, how many plans you offer. All that still is up to the district. Now, we will come in and guide and give you all thoughts and advice about, hey, if we move this lever here, how will it affect the overall cost? How will it affect the overall running of the plan? Do we need to offer two? I don't know how many plans you offer here, 2, 3, 4, but two plans. And so, we can do different things with the analysis of, if you tweak certain things within those plans, how it would affect the overall cost for the employees of the district. So you still have complete autonomy over that. And so, thank you, Dave. I was going to gloss over that and not touch on that.
So there's still autonomy in who we would like to pick as a pharmaceutical benefits manager, regardless of the carrier network we pick with, or is it isolated based on?
So you still maintain control over who your PBM, who your pharmacy contract is with. What we're finding is we have a benchmark trust. We have a pharmacy contract that any of the district members can take advantage of. And that contract is generally always cheaper than a district by itself, or what they're currently getting. I've used Brevard, for example. Obviously, Brevard's a much larger county than most of our folks here, like we were in North Florida. But they came to Fleet, they were at the very beginning of a 3-year deal with Cigna on their pharmacy program. And we said, well, this district, they're now on Fleet. You're either gonna give us some concessions and reprice your pharmacy bid that you just settled on with the district, or the first opportunity we have to take you out to bid as Fleet now operating on behalf of the district, we're going to do that. Well, they came back within the first 30 days of us being there and said, okay, we'll put $1.1 million back on the table and in the district pocket for each of the 3 years of the 3-year contract beginning. So $3.3 million they saved by benchmarking their existing contract they've just gone into next to the Fleet benchmark contract for a PBM. Now, they chose to stay with Cigna because Cigna brought their price down to meet pretty close dollar for dollar what we could offer inside Fleet. Other districts take advantage of the PBM we have inside of Fleet. One of our smaller districts said, hey, we've been with Florida Blue Prime forever. That's the pharmacy program under Florida Blue's self-insurance program. We want to stay with them because we don't want to have to give our members new cards or have employees gripe about, having to get a new prescription card, new number, and all that kind of good stuff. So we did the same thing there, right? We said, hey, this district wants to stay with you, Blue, but if you don't meet the price that we can give them, they're going to come to us. Well, they came down and met the benchmark price, and so that leverage, though, that economy of scale, those districts would not have had they not been Fleet member districts. And that's how, that's the power of Fleet. Good question. Okay. So why fleet? We won't unpack every one of these bullets. There's a lot of them on there. We already talked about transparency. Transparency, let me expand on that a little bit. And I'm not gonna say, I'll just be the first thing. I know very little about, CHP because we were not in the CHP world. That's over in Swanee. So we have that traditional agent broker relationship. But the question I would always ask as a superintendent or previous to that as a principal sitting on insurance and benefits committee is, hey, what are y'all making on us a year? Could never get a straight answer to that. What do y'all make on us? Well, we get this, we get that. What is that? Well, can't ever get straight. With fleet, you're always gonna get a straight answer because we have no motive outside of what it costs you to be a part of the program, and we'll talk about that. Our only motive is to bring savings to the district. That's unlike anything you're gonna find in the private, for-profit entity space. Control, we've already talked about that. You maintain all the control. We say to the district, you're not losing any control. You're actually gaining additional control because now you're a part of a large group. Accountability, we're accountable, to the board. I'm accountable to the board, and we work actually for the member districts that are in fleet. And I'll explain what that structure looks like here in just a second. Financial stability, year-to-year volatility. We know that smaller groups, we experienced it. Even being 800 employees in Swanee, we experienced it. We're still small. When you get several bad claims that hit your program, it impacts the health of your program in a big way. And I like to fish. We've talked about fishing before. I like to fish, and I say, if you throw a brick into a pond the size of this room, the ripples, the volatility, the ripples that you have in a pond this size would be a lot bigger than if you go out here to a lake that's 100 acres and you throw that same brick in. You're not going to get any ripple at all. The volatility is smoothed out because you're a part of a larger body of water or larger group. Health plan rehabilitation. We have some districts come to us and they're in a bad way. They're upside down. They got more costs. They've got more costs and they've got money to pay for their claims. And so we work with districts to try to get back on track through recapitalizing their plans, making some plan design changes a lot of times, recommending those things to you all for consideration. I'm not suggesting that's what we are. I'm just saying there are districts that we have that come to us that are in bad shape. 112 compliance and verification. One of the things that has been a thorn in the side of small districts when you're in a self-insured environment is the additional workload that happens at the district level with managing all the nuts and bolts and components of now doing it all yourself, as opposed to paying a carrier to do it all for you.
They're right there.
Okay, they're right there.
They're right there.
That's what fleet now makes possible for districts like us. I'll say like us, is that all the operational components of the accounting, the paying of the bills, the 112 filing that has to be done each year to the state on your health of your overall program, and then you got your 60-day reserve there. All that happens at the fleet level for districts, so you don't have to add staff or add workload. And it's a different way of doing business. It's a different way of doing business. And if you're not familiar with being self-insured, when we went self-insured in Swanee in 2020, I had to have 2 full-time people in the finance department to learn it and to manage it on a day-to-day. You don't have to do that with fleet. Fleet does all that internally for you, and I'll talk to you about who does that for us here in just a minute. Dividend sharing, risk sharing. This idea is, it's not an idea, it's actually getting ready to launch at the end of Q2. It's the idea that you have small districts that come together, you have districts that come together in like-sized bands to basically own and operate your own self-insured stop-loss pool. So the traditional space, a district like yours, would go out into the commercial stop-loss market and you would purchase a policy to insure your risk. Make sense? So that if you have a lot of bad claims, I'm just going to use easy numbers. Let's say you got $1 million in revenue, but you had $1.1 million in claims. Well, you're upside down by $100,000, right? Because you had a high cost claimant that cost $500,000 that year, one person. And it happens, right? We have people that had bad things happen to them. Well, traditionally, you would purchase a stop loss policy. And you would set a deductible on that, just like on your car insurance or your homeowner's policy, right? When you set a deductible. Let's say your attachment point in your stop loss policy is $200,000. Well, that stop loss carrier then picks up everything over that $200,000, so you would have been off the hook for the other $300,000. Because you bought insurance to insure your plan. In the fleet world, risk sharing means we have multiple districts coming together, pooling and not paying a carrier, but pooling that risk together to own your own stop loss pool. Make sense? Everybody pays in that pool. And when the pool is doing well, you get part of your money back. It would be like you go into your auto insurer and say, hey, I've had an accident in 5 years, but I paid you $2,000 last year to insure my car and my truck. I want 25% of that back. Well, I'm not gonna do it, right? Well, neither does the stop loss margin. When you pay that stop loss premium, if you have a good year and you don't need it, they don't give you your money back. With this program of risk sharing inside a fleet that'll launch at the end of Q2 for qualified districts, you'll have a dividend program that will refund your money back when everybody's doing well. And if you don't do well, and you have a bad year, you may not get a dividend back, but your cost for being, your cost of stop loss for that will be less than what it would be on the commercial market because it's not a for-profit stop loss structure.
Does fleet have its own stop loss that's just at a really, really high limit? That if all the groups collectively went over a benchmark, then it
Yes.
gets up in.
There's a commercial layer that goes on top of that. The layer itself, the pool, active itself, is got but to your point, that is so inexpensive when you're attached to such a high level.
Because the probability is so high that it will be low.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Very good.
There's a real good comparison with that on FISBIT on the property casualty side. And I can give you an example. They've been a trust for 45 years now. And they have laid back millions of dollars. So when they got hit with hurricanes repeatedly, okay, we were able to give the districts back millions of dollars, okay, because it was their money, okay. It's that self-insurance layer, okay, that you develop over time that you'll get back. And you can take it as dividends, like Ted was saying, you can take it as a dividend at the end of the year, or you can lay it back and say, okay, we're gonna take this dividend, we're gonna keep it there, okay, and let it build and build and build to where we have a really bad year. Okay, then we got something we can build, we can draw down on as far as that goes.
Yep. Good. That feeds right into stop loss premium reduction, and stabilization. That kind of explains how that happens. And then reduce district procurement and operational costs. Quite frankly, anytime as a super, I would say to my finance folks, hey, let's go out for an RFP, let's go out and bid on something. Oh gosh, all the headache and all the stuff that goes along with all that. When you join fleet, a district is able to hand everything health insurance related over to fleet, and we can legally run those procurements for you. We can run the ITN for you all to consider. Are we going with United? Are we going with Cigna? Are we going with Blue? Are we going, we run all that. None of your staff has to do that work. We're not getting compensated anymore for that, or we don't get paid. That's a part of the membership of being in fleet. Yes.
Okay, so you take over the procurement, how many protests have you, you guys go out? You go out for, I guess there's 17 districts. Do you go out for 17 districts or you go out for individual districts? How does?
It depends on where everybody is in terms of the renewal. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
We have 7 of the districts that all have a 1/1 renewal. Their plan year starts January 1st each year. So we bundle a stop loss. We bundle a stop loss bid, if you will, together with the carriers to say, okay, when we got 15, 16, 17 carriers that bid on stop loss inside the fleet. Hey carriers, we're going to bring you 7 groups all at one time. Put your best foot forward for these 7 groups.
And
right?
who negotiates? You go do an ITN?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So who negotiates those contracts?
Fleet does through Avail, our program management team.
Okay,
Uh,
so you outsource that?
Then we do it internally. We do it internally.
Okay.
Yeah, we do it internally, outsource that.
Okay, and who defends it, should you get a protest, have you had a protest on that? Okay, good, so you have lawyers, Lee has, or, okay,
We did.
so that would not put our lawyers in the mix of,
It does not, it does not.
or do we partner?
Your board attorney would be advised of what's going on,
Right.
but you don't have an exposure or liability for the actions of Fleet. Everything that we do is gonna be inside the legal context, within the legalese that we have to operate in as a trust under Florida statute.
Okay, so question, is it, I guess you will continue to try to build, this fleet up. And if it's kind of like it's evolving, it's gonna just get bigger, 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 bigger. I'm hoping, is what I'm hearing, and I think Mason brought this up earlier, is that when if you were to add 3 more counties onto this, we buy into this, then we could get a better rate. Is that what
You're already gonna be better off than you would have been even before,
right?
right?
And it takes a lot of liability off. And I'm just throwing this out there. Takes a lot of, it sounds like to me, it takes a lot of work off the staff. If you handle that, it also takes, protests are not funny. They're not fun at all. And you spend a lot of money. So, someone else takes that, goes with it, so, okay.
So you said, well, how does the district not lose control?
Mhm.
That's the case. I'll give you the example. We would rank order. After all the analysis and responses come in, we would rank order for you all. And okay, Fleet's recommendation is that you do this based on the responses and the evaluation of that.
Mhm.
If you choose to say, you know what, we appreciate that, you recommended blue, but we would prefer to be with United. You still have the ability to inform us of your desire to do that and for us to make that happen.
Yeah, so the evaluation, who evaluates, I guess.
Our teams.
Okay.
I'll talk about all of the bits and pieces.
Yeah, and we would still have buy-in. You would contact us and ask.
We're not gonna make any decisions for the district.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
You got 17 individual counties that are right now. Or school districts. The bigger this gets. Yes, these what benefit. We wanna get the best bang for our buck, everybody does, but as it grows, say you get then we're number 8, we're 18. But when number 25 comes on board, how do you distinguish what the difference is gonna be of how things react? Everybody, you say some are 1-1, some are, there'll be different times. So how do you structure, if you're gonna do that, how you gonna structure all 25 buying groups if you have that many at that time? On a single scale?
Yeah, you're not able to do that on a single schedule, but what you are able to say to the PDM, for example, say, hey, we've got 25 districts of, Liberty's gonna come up for a PDM contract in October. We've got Calhoun that's gonna come up in February. And now we've got X number of people in this entire, we need a pharmacy benefit cost on the entire group size. Whether they choose to take it or not is gonna be up to them. But we want you to price us as a trust. And to your point on size, Fleet now is the largest group, largest entity in Florida. Above that, Miami-Dade has 29,000. So we have more buying power now as Fleet than Miami-Dade has. And so the buying power piece is real. And the savings I'll talk about a little more specifically are there. Trust me, I wouldn't have led Suwannee County down this. They'd send people after me if it didn't work. Right. And I thought we had the best run plan because, of course, I was there, we helped build it, right? But I said it tongue in cheek, but I was shown very quickly that, even though I thought we had a great plan, man, we were leaving huge dollars on the table until I said, show the new superintendent, hey, this is what we've got going on. It's like, there's big savings. There really is.
Would we still contribute? I know like the board, the boards of these 17, do they still contribute to the force of agreement?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that didn't go.
None of that changed.
Okay,
None of that changed.
Did you see any increasing or did you see any?
Some boards already were looking at increasing their board contribution because they had not done it in 5, 7,
Yeah,
10
we
years.
just did that, so, yeah,
Others have not.
okay.
That's completely, that's still.
So it's
remains-
not forced your boards to
No.
come in and increase that.
No, you gotta make that decision. Really what happens here is we try to save you money and we will save you money. Okay, what you do with that money is up to you. Okay, how you spend that money
That's
for
right.
savings is up to you.
It'll save our employees money.
Yeah.
Right,
We'll probably keep doing this what we're doing and let the difference show by the customer, the actual customers.
I know like for Calhoun, Daryl and I talk all the time. In fact, he and I are texting right now.
Okay.
For a few years, they didn't have any increase in premium. They were able to use some of the savings for that. They're, you know, again, everything's size and scale. They're looking at about $3 million in the bank. That goes away really fast when, you know, obviously you start doing the math and that won't last long. But at some point, he says, you know, as insurance costs go up, we've got to somewhat go with that a little bit. Otherwise, you know, we're still down here with what we're paying, but the costs are way up here. So that I think in the last year or two, they were able to do a few years where they were flat. No, there was no increases.
Yeah.
And is with fleet, is our insurance gonna go up just like all other insurances every year?
So you're gonna.
Have an increase every year?
You're gonna have your claims and being with CHP, we're not, if you came to Fleet, here's what you'll know about me. I'm gonna tell you the good, bad, and ugly. We probably aren't gonna be able to get the data.
They won't give a claim.
We're not
tried that before.
We're trying every year.
We're not gonna get data, be able to inform where it is you need to be. And so it's gonna be very interesting, and there are ways to be able to look at that, try to come up with a recommendation to the board and say, hey, this is how much total you're gonna have in the bank, you know, as a function of, to your point, board contributions plus employee contributions equal X. Is that enough to fund the pot?
You mean layer one, correct? You know, I mean, from where we're at now.
Year one.
Yeah.
So where we
Year
go
one.
to, but from there on out,
That's
we're gonna do everything.
Everything.
Right.
Coming in day one,
Yeah.
it's not gonna know it.
And when if later on down the road, because I try to look, way out.
Mhm.
So, because a lot of these companies will tell you, oh, we'll give you claims data, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and then we can't get it.
Yep.
So is that part of the contract that everything at the end belongs to us if it,
To your point,
and what's the term of your contracts? I mean, are you doing,
Everything gets repriced every year.
oh, okay.
Everything gets repriced every year.
So I want to make one quick statement. When we were with Aetna and United Healthcare, they would give us claims data. With CHP, we're doing community price and we're in with the other people that they represent. So that's why they would adjust our increase and some of the others that, it was based on the group, even though you thought, well, this is a larger group. But I pinned one of them down one time in negotiation. I said, look, I understand y'all gotta make money. Did y'all make any money last year? And, did we have a good year? And they went, we made money. Okay, good. You're supposed to. You're supposed to. But that let me know that the premiums they took in were more than the costs that they did out. However, that might not have been the case in Leon County. It might have been just the opposite.
right,
And so yet still, ours still went up 8%.
So this collective savings that we would be obtaining, to Boo's point, we could see a benefit annually at renewal based on the volume that Fleet has. We're not gonna see, so if we said, hey, you know what, January 1 or whatever date, we're gonna turn over, right? There's a set number of people. We're locked in the savings until our next renewal, regardless of the size of Fleet, like the number of insured Fleet, correct? We're not gonna see savings within that time period as it grows, will we?
you're going to see an initial savings moving from what is in essence a fully insured platform. And we'll talk about that a little bit. I got a little slide back there. We'll show you that graph. There's generally a 7 to 12% savings when you move from a fully insured program into a self-insured program. Because to your point, there is always going to be built in a guaranteed profit for whoever's administering the program. So, whether you're with CHP, whether you're independently fully insured with Florida Blue, they're going to build in a profit margin of somewhere around 7.5%. Plus, they're going to be building in profit on what they make on your pharmacy program. they're gonna be building a profit on their own reinsurance costs, because even on a fully insured plan, you have a stop loss policy, it's called reinsurance and that layer, right? They're gonna make money on that you're pulling out when you come into a fleet type program. You're not paying that carrier profit anymore. You're also not paying a state premium tax on a fully insured program that you don't have to pay when you're self-insured. So there is that resetting of the bar year one. And here's where some folks get kind of mixed up. And well, you said you were gonna be able to do this, but you didn't. Well, your fully insured renewal was gonna be a 15% rate increase. Well, your renewal coming to fleet was a 4% increase. You still save 11%, right?
Even though you got an
Even though you had an increase, you still save 11%.
So, but within the year, so in other words, are we locked into a contract in this guaranteed set price point annually? Or as this grows, even within that contract period, are we gonna see savings as fleet grows?
Your stop loss and your PBM will be a set contract for the duration of a term. Generally, your stop loss is gonna be, that's correct. Your traditional PBMs try to get you into a 2 or 3 year deal. We're gonna be pricing and we're gonna build out contract structures in the PBM that allow you an out if there's a better deal to come, because we know when you turn on the TV and you're watching a football game, you're gonna also see 15 commercials before they come back on and go live again, right? They're all drug commercials. Drug market changes all the time. So we are gonna be repricing your stop loss, repricing your pharmacy every single year. That's just not something as a school district you can go out and do, and that you can. You don't have the workload. The people inside and decide to go out there and do that work every year on your own. And so that becomes a part of the way of working inside fleet with people who go.
The rebates with the pharmaceutical benefits, do we see those directly or do they go pulled into it?
They should have to come back from this.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
And we keep talking about size, just so, and talk about the state.
Yeah.
The state has 168,000 employees. Now, they contribute a ton of money to their plane, to their planes and state does. You're never gonna get that. But the reality is there's 272,000 school board employees on insurance plans in the state. So if we got everybody in the state, we would be far bigger than the state. And you talk about leveraging companies at that point. When you have 272, if you had 272,000 employees, you would be the 5th largest group in the United States.
I think that was part of your question. If that happens,
That's
everything should be better for us.
everything better for everybody, not just
You got more power.
Miami-Dade,
Right.
Orange, Hillsborough, all the big boys, okay?
As
They
it grows,
should
it should
get
get better
bigger.
for everybody.
Absolutely.
Kind of like a pyramid.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
You
been
got
my
hard,
whole,
but
since I've come on the school board, because I've retired from the state. It's like, I've never understood it, you know, and Kyle and I've had long conversations about this. I've had long conversations with our legislators about this, you know, but I would love to see that day, because it's not right to me. I know we talked about FRS and why, you know, we're contributing, but you gotta send FRS, you treat us like government employees, but then on the other hand, oh, well, we can't do insurance, you
Right.
know, because it would cost the districts.
Go broke.
Yeah, we would go broke, but it's not pulling out. It never has in my brain. It
No, I
has.
get it. And to your point on that, you know, the state, when I was with the DOE for those 6 months, it was a long.
Mhm.
No matter swan, it's long months. I almost said something I should have. The first thing I asked when I got this, I said, are you all sure you know what you're doing? Right, pick me up. $22,000 and change per employee. The state pushes into the individual plan for their employees. When school districts are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000, depending on the district,
Right.
you're a fraction of that. And there's no way you can compete, because the rest of that cost share's gotta go to the employee, right?
Right.
But to your point, the larger this gets, the more leverage we're gonna have. And this is what's exciting, is because of the size that we already are. We're talking with one of the jumbos, right now. That you think, well, you know, if you're Hillsborough, Orange, Miami-Dade, you know, do all you want, the big districts that you're getting the best deal you can get. We're actually showing them right now that, hey, there's probably 6 to 10% savings on just your pharmacy spend alone. That doesn't sound like a lot, but they spend $100 billion a year, 100 million a year on just a pharmacy in that district. So if you save 10%, that's $10 million, right? Not, it's a drop, but it's still big money. So anyway, yes, the magic in all of this, and what Dave said as well, is that as this continues to grow, it's only going to get better and better. For every.
Guys, y'all feel free to sit down if you want. It's
We
just,
need to take a break.
yeah, don't feel like you have to stand.
No, I
You-
appreciate that. I actually, we like to. I get frustrated when
We
I
get
have
very informal in here.
I should, maybe in my next life I'll be a preacher, you know, you can't preach, don't sit down either, right?
Well, you're right, you're right.
Have you had anybody come into this that's been part of it and left?
Not yet. And I'm glad you brought that up.
that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's a good question.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Board Member Morris, and let me say this. We're not gonna have none of our districts sign anything and say, hey, you gotta stay with us for X amount of time. The only thing you'd be required to do is stay for the duration of the year that you're currently in membership. Does that make sense? So if your plan year runs when?
October to September.
October, September. So if you came in active, let's say October the 1st of 2026, and you get into the spring of the next year, say April, May, you say, hey, you know what, we're gonna leave, we're gonna go back, we're gonna do something else. September 30th is your last day you leave.
There's still a claim payout period.
There is. That's why you gotta stay. That's why you gotta stay to the end of your term. You're gonna have to continue to fund your account and pay your claims.
But even after the term ends, claims still roll through and you still have the.
You're gonna have that reserve, and then that reserve is gonna pay out those claims. That 60-day reserve is gonna be there to pay those claims out.
Yeah.
And then whatever's left will come back in you can get your money sent back to your district as a refund, basically.
Miss Katie and Kyle on the finance team, this seems if we make this move, it'd be an opportune time to adjust the effective date of enrollment for insurance. Is October a good time? Like October 1 renewal, is that a good time for workload and capacity?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't always October. We switched that.
Yeah.
I think we used to do.
October, since I've been here since 2007.
Well, then,
But maybe prior, but-
no, prior it was, there was an off, like,
No.
July.
summer.
Prior.
Yeah. Okay.
I know there's been a lot of conversation to your point, about that over the years with, districts wanting to line their plan year up with calendar year deductibles from January 1 through December 30. But it works different in every district, and every finance department has got a different slant on what works for them, and so.
I would imagine Katie wouldn't want July 1 to be a.
No.
Yeah, there's a little bit going on, okay?
That's right.
All right. Okay, here, who's eligible to join? We won't belabor that point. Everybody that wants to join, that's a member of FADS, all 67 are eligible. You've got to be willing to, you got to be self-insured or be willing to become self-insured, to become active and fleet. And then, boards like y'all are asking great questions. You're interested in always looking for another solution, a better solution. We want to work with districts that want to try to continue to be a part of making things better and better. Not only then individually, but collectively for all the member districts. And we'll talk about what that looks like. So how does the board participate? The board would act on a recommendation on a one-page participation agreement that would come before the board saying, hey, we're taking action tonight to, this morning, whatever it might be, to join fleet. The superintendent signs it, the board chair signs it, it comes back to us. And then at that time, we talk about if you're fully insured, we talk about to get you to a self-insured environment and time for your new plan year. That's that transition plan piece there that's referred to in number 3 that you may or may not need. The district formally enters fleet when you as a district say you want to enter fleet, but that point has to be at the point that you become self-insured. So if your plan year, you go self-insured October 1, 2026, that would be the earliest date that you could become active inside a fleet would be October 1st of 2026. Doesn't mean we wouldn't start working with you as a team to prepare for that launch date and start shopping things like running ITNs for a carrier, shopping pharmacy benefits, shopping stop loss, and all those things. All that would be working and being behind the scenes, getting ready for October 1.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is a little confusing to me. So you do, let's say you had three counties, you did 910. Negotiate every year, right?
Reprice.
Reprice. Just tap on those new additional counties at the end of the year and get a better price? Or did you go back out for an ICN again every time you get a county?
No.
Okay, sorry, that's why my brain.
That's all right, that's okay. Districts decision, districts may not want to go out for an ITN, they may not want a new broker. They may not want us to go shopping for a new ASO, a new carrier, a new Blue or a United, so we wouldn't be running ITNs in that scenario. For districts that want that and need that, we do, but we're gonna reprice you anyway at the end of each year. So if you were with, I'll give you an example, if you do it with United in fleet, we're gonna take all the claims that you experienced from the previous year, and we're gonna run them through the Florida Blue filter, the Aetna filter, the Cigna filter, and say, hey, you know what, you might want to consider this. Of the claims you had last year, had you been with United, based on those claims, you'd have saved $250,000. Or the reverse, had you been with Cigna, or whoever it might have been. And so that repricing function will take place, and once you learn those things for the board, then you can say, hey, you know what? That repricing showed that there's savings over here to be had. Run an ITN, see if they'll respond to us, right, as a district. And then you can engage them as an ASO, administrative services only, as a self-insured district.
Still, I can't see the buying power if we're just going out on an ITN by ourselves though.
On the
Is it
ASO,
because of the?
on the ASO, there's not as much buying power. Again, telling you straight up front, there's not as much buying power on the ASO side. Except for the fact that they know we're bringing other carriers to the table.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what.
In a lot of situations, I'll tell you this. In Swanee, when we would run a RFP for a carrier, we had two show up. United showed up and Blue showed up. Nobody else showed up.
Mhm.
If we were in fleet at that time, and fleet ran an ITN as fleet, you're getting Florida Blue, United, Cigna, and Aetna all to participate because they're trying to get and gain market share in these regions. And so you get more attention when you're fleet in the ASO. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know.
Great question, because I was not thinking what you're saying. So here, this lures me to this next.
Mhm.
So when we do an ITN, is it, I'll give you an example. We've been doing those every 3 years. The last CHP was only one last year. We couldn't even get people that, now in the past, we've had an agent of record who went out and solicited those numbers or those companies, but this year we just did an ITN, or 3 years ago, I guess 4 years ago. Anyway, CHP was the only one, and we were already with them, so it was like,
All right.
dang,
Yeah.
but people were pleased with CHP, so that was a little bit more palatable for that, but, you're saying doing it through fleet, that they will respond to that.
Yes.
Even for small Liberty County with less than 200 employees.
Yeah, that's, you
Yeah.
see.
Right, I saw where you're going.
Oh,
I think
and
that's my fear, is they look at us and say,
Yeah.
you got less than 200 employees and how many's on the insurance? 90?
Have 88 employees and 13 retirees, so 101.
Okay.
That,
I
I
read
mean,
it all, but I mean, I read it, in my brain, I'm calling it piggyback, I know that's a bad name, but I was thinking y'all was just gonna take us, slide our little group into this big, but like you're saying, when they see, they want the insurance companies wants to be a part of this because they know it's growth, well, we've moved to 17, or you guys have moved to 17 counties, so it's, and you're trying to go out and get more. Yeah, that was very,
yeah,
You're also gonna want to, and you have just a hair over 200 employees, right?
199.
199, okay. Have you seen slight decrease in participation over the years, or has it stayed about?
I remember we had 114.
so, okay, so I we've had, and again, it depends on your group, I've seen when we had an agent who got out there and pushed it, he realized he'd make more money if he could get more people. And we had well over, I think at one time we had 65-70% participation.
Okay.
Um, and it was up from 30, because his idea was, you've got a lot of young staff, you
Right.
can build this group and it'll keep raising. We had about 2 or 3 years, we didn't have any rate increases from Aetna. We come out of United Healthcare, went with Aetna and did that, but he had to build a group, which means he made more money to get out there and promote it, but it also meant more for us from a board contribution standpoint. You know, obviously, if everybody in the school district, we had to make more contributions to, we'd have a problem on our hands. You know, you play that a little bit, knowing that everybody's not, and because other people have spouses and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's fell off, but I know that there's a lot of folks that are married to people who have, you know, type of electric or jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you'll remember, when I came here, I think you was Daryl Taylor, I think, right, and superintendent, we met there in the office. Okay, you were there, okay. The reason it's been as long as it's been, to your point about, you know, you and I stayed in contact.
Right.
I wasn't sure, to your point, that we could get anybody to the table. Because it's a small group, right? We have people now, we have a way to make this work for you all, if you choose to go down this road. We're not gonna have the data that we normally have from a district that has already been self-insured, has got, and, you know, they're gonna hold, PHP's gonna breakfully hold all the data close to the rest, and we'll talk about what that looks like differently inside fleet. You all come. Is there a solution for this to work here? Yes, there is a solution for this to work. I couldn't have said that even 2 months ago. Or even maybe a month ago. But we have been working because you all are not alone. I mean, you've got the Union counties of the world too. You've got the Lafayettes that are, you know, two schools. I mean, there are a lot of small groups. So is there a carrier out there that would be interested in taking on and building out a solution for multiple small school districts like this one? Yes, there is. And that's why we've waited to come to speak to you all until now, so I can stand before you and say, hey, we can find a way to make this work for you.
We also have, and this is just for your information, you may have already, Tom may have already told this. You go across the river and you've got Blue Cross Blue Shield. You go over to Tallahassee and it's CHP. Now it's getting better. People are taking Blue Cross Blue Shield. But it literally, it's like we're a split world in that river, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So
I can tell you, because I mean, FSBA has 30 employees. When I went there, they only had CHP. That was it. And I said, I can't have that. I gotta have choice. Okay, so I can tell you right now, FSBA offers 2 plans. Okay, and they're in the heart of Tallahassee, CHP, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Okay, so when people tell you, you absolutely have to have CHP, if you're in Tallahassee or you're in this group, you don't. They're all there. United's there. Okay, Blue Cross is there. I don't know if Aetna's there.
what it ends up being is your provider. You basically, you have doctors that you want to go to,
Right.
okay? And if they don't make that insurance in Tallahassee.
Then that's the disruption factor though.
Right.
You generally run a disruption factor, okay, and let's say that, you're with CHP, okay, and they want to stay with CHP. But you want to look at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. What you do is you contact Blue Cross and Blue Shield and say, we want these doctors too. Okay, so it's Blue Cross's job then to go out and recruit those doctors to get into that field, because in that's how they solve what's called the disruption factor for you.
Right.
Okay, so part of that is on the carrier. You can leverage the carriers to say, okay, if you want this group, okay, then you have to go after these doctors. And doctors are there to make money. They're good. They're there to help them. They take the hip crash out. They gotta make money too. Okay.
And we went through that, my former district, because we had been with Florida Blue for more than 40 years. And we ended up going to United, and there was a disruption factor of about 3%. Doesn't sound like much, but if you're one of those employees that all of a sudden couldn't go to the doctor anymore in network, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
100%.
Yeah.
And so the task for United, when we awarded United the bid in Swanee, was your task is get those other 3% taken care of, get the doctor signed up. And they did. And they want to earn your business, but they want to keep your business too. And, they start out by making people mad, that's not a good way to start out.
So if I'm understanding correctly though, with these carriers, we're not necessarily with the carriers. We're gonna have a third party administrator administering the claims. We're just using the network of those carriers for a cost.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
as long as they're okay with that and accept that, which if you have 44,000 people that are gonna be insured, you probably say, hey, I don't know exactly how it's structured, but if it's like, hey, if you wanna sit at the table for 44,000, you need to represent this 200 as well. I'm assuming is the
And that's,
proposal.
and that's the goal. The goal really is to leverage
The
the law of large numbers
Right.
against some of these carriers. I'm gonna say against. I thought Blue Cross and Blue Shield were having Citrus County good health insurance for them, okay, it's a risk manager there. I can tell you that, when I went to Thisbit, and I learned how, the push you can have, when you have $9 billion worth of property you're insuring, and you go out to market, let me tell you, they want your business. So when we have 44,000, okay, if we keep growing, I think we'll have 100,000 by the end of the year.
Question, 44,000 school district employees, just asking, is that how many is covered by
That's
the
correct.
insurance, not just employees? We have, how many employees?
Insured.
200. Okay,
That's insured,
that's insured,
that's
okay,
insured, that's not.
insured employees, okay,
That's actual members.
all right, just asking.
Well, let me ask you this, you keep saying, you know, you got, you big four, you have it about now, of your insurance carrier that you said, please. We're gonna have a lot of employees that just brought on, from the results we've had from the little thing sent out, they love CSP here. Is this something that Fleet would be doing also, to try and get CHP to look at, or, I mean, I'm just asking the question, because it's gonna come up.
That's what we talked about.
There
He mentioned,
There
he
have
mentioned the
been-
biggie while
There have
ago.
been efforts, to see if there was the interest. And CHP working a sandbox with Fleet. That is safe to say is not there. And so it really
It might be
it
that,
comes-
well, that, you
it
get
comes down.
2,000.
It might be, and they're really tight on their data. You talk about data, they're not gonna tell you anything.
I took them from Tupelo Honey. I said, come on now,
Yeah.
come on. Yeah. But now, do you think if Rocky switched, if Leon switched over, that'd get their attention?
It would, but they won't.
We go bad and have a Rocky look at that.
I assume we're not being recorded then.
We are. No. Well, I mean, I just know that the hub is Leon County for
And
CHP.
the state, yeah, but the state also has multiple plans.
But yeah, their hub, CHP's hub is the state, not Leon County
And
School.
there, I'm sure if you got right down to it, you know, they got the state of Florida.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's their bread and
Their
butter.
bread and butter.
Correct.
You know, and so.
It does come down
You know,
to,
you know, like you said, as it grows, it may start raising some, you know, because if we got to what the numbers you said earlier, that should definitely get their attention, but.
Well,
It may not be this year, maybe 2 years.
No.
exactly,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And to be completely transparent with you guys, because that's the only way we can be, right? Is it may not work. It may not be such that, let me back up. You're gonna have to make a choice. As a board. Do we stay with CHP or do we go off in a different direction? That's what it's gonna be.
Do other states have a model like this? I mean, do we just pull this out of the rabbit's hat for the state of Florida? You got-
We were in Hillsborough, when we were in Hillsborough, and people sit across the table, first one came from California, and one came from,
They do it for
I
years.
forget the other state, they've been doing it in other states for years.
That's what I'm saying, is
Yes.
there models
Yes.
like this
There are.
within school
Trust
districts in
models.
other states?
There are. For property and casualty, because I used to go to a conference at least once a year. From multiple states, okay,
Right.
Texas has the biggest one, I can tell you.
I like that.
Texas is in the state, okay, how they run theirs for the health insurance for the school board employees, they're in the state. I don't know. if they're-
They're in with the state of,
Yeah,
they're in with the
yes,
state
it's a
of
state
Texas.
program, the third, as far as that goes. I don't know, it's a good program, I'll just be honest with you, from what I've seen, they have a lot of difficulty in that program. because it's ran differently, I'll just say. They have some issues, they have some issues in that program. But there are other states that do this, okay, and successfully, because when we were talking to Hillsborough County, they said, when we came here, we thought we had something like this too, okay, but they were still fully insured.
Yeah.
Imagine Hillsborough fully insured.
Yeah.
They just went self-insured this year, which is the craziest thing I had heard in all of our conversations.
Yep, I agree.
We still have a very, I mean, if we need to shift, which if we go with this, we'll have to shift from CHP to either Florida Blue or United Healthcare, probably somebody like that, and they still have a massive network. I mean, there might be the disruption of a few percent, which is big when it's affecting you personally, especially if you have heart issues or whatever, something that's serious health issues. I understand that. But there's still the networks that are available to us or will be are very robust carrier networks.
Absolutely.
Well, I live in Taylor County and I could choose it too, because I was a physical employee, right, SBA, excuse me. I could choose it between CHP or Blue Cross and Blue Shield, okay? Same, the networks, I can take the networks right then.
There's a reason for that too, right?
Almost identical. Okay, because Florida Blue actually owns 51% of CHP.
If we do go on this,
There you go.
I read somewhere that our superintendent will be on the board.
Correct. That's bullet right here.
Wherever you choose.
That's all right. That's a good point. I'm not trying to get it off. No, that's fine. That's good. That's good. The board acts, participation agreement, transition plan, set a date to enter fleet. Each superintendent is a member or a trustee of fleet. Superintendent can do it themselves, or he can pass it on to a CFO or assistant super, whoever.
But he can't delegate them.
He can't delegate that, no good. He can delegate, yes. Some people said, no, I'm gonna do it, and some people said, no, I'm gonna delegate it. It's up to you, it's up to the district.
Okay.
Every district that's a member gets obviously one vote, right? So what happens with the participation agreement is it would come back to the fleet board for application into fleet. So I would carry your participation agreement forward and put it in front of the 17 superintendents or their designees. Say, hey, I recommend, same, works the same way, like superintendent right of fleet. I recommend board chair that we accept Liberty County's application to become a member of fleet. Or a motion, and then the group votes, and they let everybody, they let you in. And so I work for the board, I work for the trustees, the member superintendent, member district, and for Senator Montford. That is sponsoring, obviously, FAB's the entity that sponsors fleet, so that's who I work for the districts and the Senate. Okay, good question. Let's see here, what can a district expect? Kind of touched on that earlier. If you're moving from a fully insured plan to a self-insured plan, generally 7 to 12%, we're seeing that. Pretty much standard across the board in some cases, but that it tends to be a little bit more.
Yeah, that is based on a calculation of data says X% is going to be saved. But if we have good plan years, we would save more than that to add to reserves in that good plan.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And to your point on that, if you are, let's say you were already self-insured, had been self-insured for the last 5 years, pick a number. What we can say and demonstrate now, because some of these districts have been members of the old FSHIP program going back to 2009, is that if you were independently self-insured compared to being self-insured inside a fleet, you'd save 7 to 13% over being independently self-insured by being able to tap into the stop loss and the PBM savings on the buying power piece. And so there's savings in the direction, but you do get that savings coming in going from fully insured to self-insured year one. So what can the district expect? I'll try to wrap this up pretty quick. Education on the value of actively managing the self-insurance program. Again, understanding the nuts and bolts of it, you're not having to manage it because that's what's happening at Fleet, but you do need to understand how it operates. And if you've been in that space before, you may already understand it. Data analysis and application. When you become a member of Fleet, every bit of data no longer belongs to a carrier, it belongs to the district. As a self-insured district, your pharmacy data, your stop loss claims, your medical claims, every nut and bolt that happens inside and impacts your program, that data belongs to the district and lives inside the data warehouse that is owned by member fleet districts, and you can get access to it And anytime you want, without going through a broker or having it come filtered through an agent or a carrier, it comes, hey, here's what it is. How do you want to react to it? How do you want to plan for it based on what the data is telling you? And that's an important part of continuing to squeeze out savings year over year, is having access to your own data in a clear and authentic way. Wellness support, we can talk a little bit more about that in terms of what wellness programs look like. We all know that, you get people that ignore their health, right? Their long-term outcomes aren't gonna be great. If I had gone on blood pressure medicine and cholesterol medicine 20 years ago, I probably would be a higher risk for heart attack and stroke, even though I probably already still am, but I'm a less of one, right? That's the idea. If you get people engaged in their health and their being compliant with their prescription drug meds and all that kind of stuff, helps your program overall. This is the slide right here that I was referring to. There's just a quick visual, if you will, of what happens. The red line representing that fully insured program. That self-insured line representing that self-insured line where you drop 7 to 12% that first year by coming in fleet and tapping in to what will be some of the immediate buying power. We're seeing that across the board in a lot of areas, but again, stop loss on the PDM are the two main areas you're going to expect to see some savings right out the gate. And then by pulling people together in that, what I'll say, the risk sharing piece, that risk sharing bank that we talked about earlier, where you put together that self-insured pool of districts together, that's the green line. We already have data that has been run analytically to show that by bringing people together, you're not going to, superintendent's point and Daryl Taylor's point, Calhoun, nobody should stand up here ever, whether they come to fleet or not, and say, we're gonna make that green line go down. Over time, it's gonna trend, but does it trend upward at a slower rate or does it trend upward at a higher rate? And this green line is the program strategy goal for fleet, is to minimize the rate at which you see those increases. You have medical inflation. Things are gonna cost more year over year.
17%, 45%.
Exactly. Those are
Exactly. Inflation's gonna happen.
So looking at the past, that flattening of that line for us and for y'all as a board, for our budgeting purposes, and for Katie, is trying to figure out how much does the board want to contribute, or how do we break this to our employees?
Right.
Is that 1 year, let's just say, they say, we're gonna do a 3% increase. And for years, there was a 0% increase in premium. Well, that was wonderful. That was, you talk about planning, that was wonderful. Whatever we did last year, we probably can do this year. But then all of a sudden, it's like throwing dice. Oh, it's 13%. No, it's a 16%. Some districts, 20 plus. I mean, how do you plan for that? You have very little time, especially for an October renewal. And so we've had a group that's helped us with Hub that we contracted with 3 or 4 years ago to try to help us with that. But even at our rates has been like 6 and 7%, 8%. I mean, you figure 8% over 4 years. Yes, but I think 8%. There was one time they said, well, so and so's paying 18%. We were at 8. Oh, thank you, Jesus. But then you do 4 years at 8%. Now there's 25, 30%. Well, has people been able to get a 25 or 30% raise in their salary to accommodate, their contribution toward it? So that's where it's a you don't see it, but it's doing this, and it's jugging our folks. So what we're trying to do is get the line lower, possibly through something like this. So, when we do have those good years, and I would say, Katie, Lisa, y'all, we have a younger group now. We really have a younger group. Believe it or not, I'm the veteran. I'm going to get retired. And I'm old. When did you start taking blood pressure? But I'm saying that we do have a younger group. We got a bunch of 30, I'd say 20, 30, 40-year-old teachers, staff, employees that are very healthy. So this might be a golden opportunity to do that. I know in Lafayette County, Robbie has, I think, a lot of older employees, a lot of older teachers and stuff. Because when you start looking at their average salary for teachers down there, it's really high, but it's based on a bunch of them who have been there and the longevity of those employees. This might be a deep, and again, this will be a board decision, and we still got a lot of other things to talk about. This may be a real golden time to make that and to be able to bank some money and start getting these costs under control. I don't see them getting any better with going the way we got. Now, we got a couple, all the, we did a survey, Boo was talking about the survey that we had that went out. People like CHP. They love the $15 copays. They love having their doctors. They love the network, I guess was what Jody was saying. They love the network of doctors that they have access to. But about 80% of them said that I'm willing to, I wish it was cheaper.
Cost, yeah.
Cost, it is cost, but they like CHP, but they don't like the cost.
And for clarity, our plan design can be identical. Copays, out of pockets, whatever, we can set it identical
Correct.
now. But you're gonna come back with advice based on the pricing to say, hey, we recommend this or that, and it's our decision of what we want to go with, realizing there's gonna be a price point reflection that happens if we choose to go with our way versus your recommendation, right?
You can carbon copy your plan designs the way they are right now. For the cost. Right, just to your point, that $15 copay isn't just there as a, as somebody from, the ferry coming in and delivering, the gift to the employee, right? So the question is the employee willing to pay $50 if they saw 200 more in their paycheck every month?
That's the education part of
That's the
it. We've got to
education
do a
part.
good job.
That's the analysis, plan design part that you have to look at.
But you'll provide that data to us.
We have the ability to tell you if you do X, Y, and Z, it will affect you over here, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
In your plan design.
Not a premium cost.
As a collective piece of what your board contribution, of what your employees got here, yeah. We'll be able to give you options to either make those plans design changes or not, based on the tolerance of the desire of what your employees want. And it could be that you offer a lean plan that has a low dollar copay, and then you offer this high deductible health plan over here with a much higher, they don't get that first dollar coverage to be able to go and pay $15. Maybe they have a deductible they got to meet before they get coverage at all. If you got a lot more in your paycheck, would you be willing to roll the dice? If you're younger, you're in your 20s and 30s, I'd rather have a much cheaper plan and have catastrophic coverage for that anomaly that, it's 30-year-olds generally not gonna have a heart attack. They could. But could they recover from a $5,000 or $10,000 financial hit over time if you're 20 or 30 years old? Yeah, you can recover from that. A lot easier you can if you're 65 or 70.
Now, I'm assuming you can give, before we sign a contract to go with the fleet, would you be able to quote the board and say, hey, listen, here's our data, we're giving it to you. You're giving us the data back and saying we can offer these carriers, these prices, this plan design, this cost.
I would love to see one kind of, really, I don't know if you have this, because I don't see a lot. Lafayette is probably the closest. Dixie might be close. Would you be able to show us like what they're paying now? Kind of give us an example, or do you?
Everybody's board contribution is different. And everybody's plan designs are different. And again, to your point about, could you take our data? There won't be any. That's fair to say.
You're not gonna get it from.
You're not gonna get it.
We can't give you enough information.
You're gonna have to have a year. There's
What
more
we can get your that plan is, what we pay, our contribution, the employees' contributions and so forth. And you can shop it for us, right? And then give us, in other words, we're not gonna sign a contract with you before you give us a look at what our plans options would be. Is that correct?
The participation agreement has to be signed before I can put all the people inside the program, and I'll talk about who those people are to work.
But that doesn't mean we've entered a
It
contract.
does not mean that you
We
have
just
to,
say,
it doesn't mean you have to come to Fleet right then.
It's a desire we're looking at.
that seems like that's our step. So I have one more question before I make the comment I was about to. For finance, what does this look like structurally for finance and management and accounting? I'm assuming we'll set up an account, that'll be our account, that we fund.
Your account gets set up at Fleet that you all fund. And the funding recommendation is, again, that number of, it's board contribution plus employee contributions and your fleet fee, which I'll talk about again, fleet transparency, that goes into that account.
So we don't have access to that account, you control that account for the board.
We operate and pay the bills out of that on behalf of the district. That's where not having to add one or two people inside your finance department comes in.
So if we see, so the question, well, and that's great, so in other words, we're funding it, so basically the only thing we're gonna do as a school board is we're gonna hold contributions from employees' pay, we're gonna make our contribution from the board, we're gonna cut a check once a month to go to that account for fleet.
It's
And
one
then
check
you're
that
gonna-
goes to fleet, that's it.
And then you're gonna manage all the administration of it, all the claims, and then you're gonna pay out the claims to the carrier, right, as needed.
That's it.
Now, we have to keep 60 days by statute in that account. If we see there's more, can we say, hey, you know what, we would like, there's $100,000 over 60-day reserve in there, we want $100,000 sent back to us. Can we request that and that happen?
It's your money, and so anything over that reserve, you can ask for keep it on that 60 days, right? You can do whatever you want. However, there are options for you to take and invest that. We have actually an investment tier structure inside fleet, where you can take that reserve over that 60 days and put it into money market or into what we call a tier 3 investment account where it earns a little more money. You still have liquid access to it within I think 24 hour liquid access to it, but you can earn higher interest on it.
And thus the interest earned on that would basically be a reduction in the total premium increase.
Well, it goes back to your pops,
Goes back to you, you decide what you do with it.
So
It
then,
goes back to the board.
if we exit this, there's a runoff period for a certain number of months, at which time you cut a check to us for the full amount in that account and send it back to the school board, correct? If we decide, hey, you know what, we want to get out of fleet, we don't want this, we want to go fully insured, not self-insured again. That's the practice of X number of months.
Right, if you claim to pay whatever's left, you get back.
and again, we haven't had anybody leave, but here's how I understand that it runs out. So let's say you decided to leave September the 30th, and you know that in advance. You'd say in May, June, or July, we're leaving in October, in September, we're gonna go back self-insured, fully insured or self-insured independently, October 1. That 60-day reserve is there, and so you're out of fleet, you're now on a new plan, but your reserves are being used to pay that run out for the 60 days.
Okay.
Make sense? If there's anything left after that, which hopefully there would be having a good year, you wouldn't have a bunch of claims left.
Right.
That money comes back to the district.
Yeah, but coming
There's
in,
no contract.
but coming in, that's how you build your reserve for 60 days. Because when you leave fully insured, okay, you're not gonna get any claims data really in for 45 to 60 days at least. So you're not paying any claims, right? Okay, for the first couple of months, because they're not hitting your plan yet.
Right.
Okay, so that's when you go on the reserve that you have to stay for the 60 days. So you don't have to take it out of your CFO's budget. Take 2 months of health insurance premiums out of the right? No, you're building that money.
Let me go back some. You said everybody's contributions are different. I personally would still like to see a county of similar size as to what they're doing right now. If it's Dixie, and I mean, I know they're bigger than us, but if it's Dixie, I still would I think we need to look at that, because if we go out here and think we're gonna get a better rate, we kind of need to know what's the bar right now. And it'd be great, we only got 90 employees or whatever that's tapping into our insurance. Even though they might be giving more, I still want to see that. I still want to see a comparison. Yes, it's different. We know that. Like I said, Lafayette is probably the closest. They're not on with you guys yet. But I would like to kind of see a comparison.
If I could address that question, here's what's happening for you all to be able to see what's happening, and we share that, certainly you can get it from Mike Thomas. Also, Lisa Moore in Hamilton, they're about 130. Okay, they're both fleet members. They're both onboarding right now from their fully insured programs into their self-insured programs. So we're working with the stop loss and the PD and all that kind of stuff, and plan design changes that they want to make in those two districts. Dixie, and you can write this will be helpful to you. Dixie will be active self-insured as of July 1st.
Oh, okay, so they're not there yet.
They're not there yet.
Okay.
They're not there.
Okay.
They are there. Their board's passed the participation agreement, and we're working with their agent, their hub, right? to get their pricing in order, so you'll be able to see what happens in their program by July 1st.
Okay,
So the participation
Swanee
agreement,
is, Swanee's live.
So it's like,
so the participation agreement gets the process started, but does not enter us into a contract to go that direction. That's in other words, we're not, the participation agreement is the start to investigate the process more fully, but that's not executing a contract for us to be self-insured going with a different carrier.
That's correct.
Carrier,
That's
correct. So in other words, the next phase of this conversation, if we're happy with what we're hearing and seeing, is we need to execute that agreement where we can actually get data to know how this looks, feels, and how we would want to proceed or not. Is that right? That seems reasonable.
to get the data is the other,
No data from you as far as you be with this company or this company, this will be your premium cost, this
We
is
could,
where.
we could start working in the advisement phase, because with that participation here, let's just skip to the last chapter of the book. That's, everyone will say, what's this gonna cost, right?
Yeah, we'll get to.
Let's just talk brass tacks here, what's this gonna cost? All right. So the rates are set and approved by the member districts, okay? So that's the first question is, can the rates go up or down to be a part of fleet? If your superintendent that sits on the board votes with the rest of the superintendents, raise or lower the membership rates, that's how it gets raised. I don't determine those, nobody else in the program determines it. It costs $10,000 one time. You pass the participation agreement. The fans invoices the district within 60 days, $10,000 one time. If you come October 1st of 2026, active self-insured, fine. If you don't come till October 1st, 2027, 2028, doesn't matter. You only pay that one time. So the timeline still remains up to the district. We will do some initial work for you in giving you what we can give you with the limited amount of data, which will be nothing outside of what your board contributions are and how much you pay in premium right to the carrier. We can start giving some information, providing some information that will help you make some determinations as to where you might want to go in terms of a carrier, whether that's United or Ameritan or whoever else, to help you form your decision on when you come.
So, sorry, I'm not getting sidetracked. So we're gonna be guaranteed a maximum annual cost, correct? Is there?
To be a member of fleet,
Well, no. If we went to, if we become a member of fleet and accept self-insurance, there will be a guaranteed maximum annual cost that we can get out of pocket, like stop loss, at which we know we will not spend over a certain number of dollars.
you will know what your maximum exposure is based on where your stop loss attachment point, is placed.
And we can,
And what
we can fund this based on that maximum exposure amount.
you can,
So then monthly, we would fund this maximum amount divided by 12 would be the monthly contribution we would make to this fund, right? Now, if any claim amount in, say, a said month is over the amount of the contribution, is there a cap that we would pay out of pocket that? In other words, if we have $1 million maximum amount and something catastrophic happens to a whole family that's insured and it's $800,000 hospital bill, life, whatever else, month 2. We're not gonna need to come up with $800,000 to be able to fund that account that we don't have, or will we? Or is there a maximum amount that would go in per month? And then each month that max increases, and as long as we fund it that month to the maximum amount, then by the end of the year, we're gonna be safe. In other words, I wanna make sure that we don't have something happen and be like, holy cow, we gotta come up with 800 grand in a
Right.
month.
right?
What are we gonna do and have to go to note the loan, pay it? You see what I'm saying? Just to recoup a loan. How does that look?
So your stop loss, to your point on that, is exactly your safety net. Your stop loss, that's why choosing and working with you and your finance department, your finance folks, as to what amount of exposure you want or are willing to accept. Like choosing the deductible again, right on your car. If I know I'm not gonna have any cash to fix my truck when I back into a tree in the deer woods, and I'm willing to pay for a $500 deductible, and the carrier's gonna pay for everything above that, that premium's gonna cost me more. If I'm willing to say I'll pay the first $2,000 of that, my premium's gonna be less than what they charge me. You're gonna decide where your deductible, where your attachment point is. We're gonna make a recommendation to you. We're gonna say, hey, you're a small district. You only got a certain amount. You don't have a lot of room for error. Let me put it that way. So your stop loss attachment point may be, it will be lower than somebody else's that's much, much larger, right? And that stop loss, and that stop loss point to protect from that family that generated $800,000 worth of claims, and your overall revenue for your overall plan may not be more than $800,000. I don't know, am I taking a guess? Is it $1 million,
About that, around
$800,000?
1.2.
Yeah.
1.2, all right, so, yeah, you're talking about what, 3/4 of your overall spend for your entire district on one particular catastrophic situation. That stop loss piece needs to be structured to protect the district, so that you don't bankrupt your self-insured program.
So then monthly, is there a monthly cap, or could you be completely exposed month one in a ultra rare, unforeseen, statistically improbable
So
event?
if we start this in October and we have a huge claim in November, we hadn't had time to build our account up, what happens then? Who pays that bill?
We're gonna make sure that you got a correct stop loss policy in place.
So the
that they
stop
pay.
loss will,
Yep,
it'll take effect immediately.
Yeah, anything over a certain dollar amount.
Over that,
Claim, stop loss.
It's basically an insurance plan that you pay a premium on.
it's an insurance plan to insure your self-insurance plan. That's exactly right.
Right,
Yeah, so again, let's put back in the superintendent mindset, start trying to talk insurance. It's an insurance program plan to protect your insurance plan. That's exactly right.
And it's in there right now, probably with capital, right?
But
They take care of all that, they don't.
I would not guarantee CHP guys.
Oh, yeah, they might stop loss in, only the stop for themselves too.
I got you.
Yeah, and they probably own the stop loss company, just so you know.
If I understood
What?
correctly,
What is that?
And they probably own the stop loss company too. Blue Cross and Blue Shield probably owns their own stop loss company. And they say that's how they make the extra.
It's an extra product to sell.
yeah,
That's how they make the extra profit, so.
You have a stop loss now on your fully insured plan that you don't see, you pay for part of your loss premium.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
You should have paid 10,000 per year to this.
No, one
That-
time.
One time, after you.
That sets up your checking account, it sets up all your data stuff. All the internal stuff that we have to do to get you in the program,
We
okay?
got 45-50 employees that work across this program for districts, and so that everything gets set up for your district, whether you come active in October or a year from October, it doesn't matter. That one-time fee is what the setup fee is. The monthly maintenance fee for every district, again, set by the superintendents that belong to it, is $22.25 times the 88 employees you got. Or 88 employees on the plan, not all your employees, if you have 200 employees, but you only got 88 taken, you're paying $22.25. $22.25 on the 88, does that make sense?
Per employee.
Per employee.
Per month.
You don't pay on your retirees or anybody on COVID, roughly. It's just
We
like,
don't pay anything, they pay the whole.
okay, they pay all of it.
So maybe I misunderstood. I thought there was a factor of stop loss protection that was incorporated within the entire plan itself, and then there was a commercial stop loss over the whole plan.
Yes, you my number over the top.
What he's talking about, we were talking about before the meeting briefly, is the risk sharing element.
Yeah.
That initially you won't be able to go into risk share year one. And you say, well, why is that? The fleet program, again, the fleet program set up by the groups that are members of it. They want 3 years worth of data from districts that have been self-insured. To ensure that districts are operating their self-insured program well, and they're making good decisions. To your point, they're funding it appropriately. They're funding it to the right level. They're not funding it at 2/3 of the level required. That they have health and they have employee health engagement going on to try to educate employees about what they should be doing to take care of their own health. There are actually 24 metrics that districts have to check the box on to be able to get into that risk share piece where you have that ability to pool the stop loss risk as your own company and then be eligible for dividends on the back end. And so for a district coming in that's fully insured, you'd be looking at a 3-year runway into the risk sharing piece. For other districts that have already been self-insured for 5 or 10 years and have all those 112 filings on file for us to be able to say, hey, yep, they're doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. They would be eligible much quicker to go into risk share.
Understand that. So then there was an annual stop loss and a monthly stop loss component that we would have to purchase into.
You would have a yearly stop loss contract. It would be whatever the number is, your contract on your stop loss costs this.
How's that?
They would get, yeah, he's, what he's doing, you're thinking about it on an annual basis.
Correct.
Okay, that's what you're doing.
Because we're
Okay,
gonna
because
pay
really,
it.
what you find the individual stop loss, okay, it's an individual claim loss. In other words, if you have an individual, like, let's say I hit the hospital, I'm one of your employees. I hit the hospital and I have to have a heart transplant, okay, and it's $500,000. Okay, your stop loss is $100,000, okay? You have to pay the $100,000, okay, like your deductible, but then the stop loss, my claim, my $500,000 claim, stop loss pays $400,000. Okay, now that's how it works. See, it works on an individual claim basis. It doesn't work on an aggregate claim. And what Fleet will do eventually with the risk sharing or everything else is they will buy an umbrella policy over the stop loss too. Okay, that your members would have. Okay, you would have an umbrella over the top of that too. Let's say they bought, $10 million over the top. Okay, it's kind of like FSBA does, for property insurance. Okay, they have their own self-insurance pool that they have. Okay, they take care of these claims, everything. But then we have an umbrella policy over the top, and then you can even buy an aggregate policy over the top of that. As far as it goes, but that's all board decisions that so it's technical, but that's the decisions you'll have.
Sure. What happens then if you say, hey, there's X number of claims to pay, and you have X number of dollars in your account, we have funded to the maximum amount of exposure each month starting off, and we're short, what happens?
Then we have to contact you all and say, listen, we made a recommendation to fund at, we call it a 90% confidence interval, meaning that we are 90% certain that if it's funded at this level, regardless of what happens over the course of the year, with the stop loss policy you have in place with your funding level, that your claims aren't going to outrun your revenue that you're putting in. So if you're doing that, we'd have to come back and say, listen, with all due respect, you're short, but we made the recommendation for you to fund at 90% confidence interval, and you chose to fund it at 70% confidence.
Let's say we funded at 100, what if we funded it maximum out of pockets, 1.2 million, we funded $100,000 every single month 3, we don't have enough money because of something that happened. What happens?
I don't know that would, I don't know if that would happen.
What happens is you're the first.
Hurricane Michael's what he's talking about. Hurricane Michael showed up and wiped us out. For example, like for PAC, the top thing was $75 million for all the exposure, but we were at 76 million or something. What happens when our bill comes to 78 million and you've only covered 75?
Right. Well,
Worst case scenario, we would be, the district would be.
Yeah, but I mean, your stop loss policy, that's what it's stop loss.
That's what it's there.
Policy is so important, is to protect you from having that situation occur.
Well, there's going to blow people off. And it could occur month one. I mean, it's maybe a 0.1% chance, but if something happened, heaven forbid, anything could happen at a very unlikely probability that maxes it out month one.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
But there's no.
You're gonna risk right up front. It sounds like maybe you're
And I can tell you this,
jumping out there.
it doesn't matter. You're gonna pay your claims one way or the other, okay? If you have a horrible year this year, fully insured, let me tell you what your rate's gonna be next year. Okay, it's gonna be, they're gonna get that money back. You're paying your claims one way or the other. Okay, that's just a
Fully
fully
insured carriers gonna make sure
they're getting that money back.
Then you have a good year and
And they're keeping.
it's staying up.
good years, you keep it all.
Yeah.
So when this money goes into this account, we pay, we open the account, $10,000, whatever, and we put this money in, and then, we continue to build. Will our CFO have access to that account, or will it?
So he gets, and I skipped over that slide, so if you get to the Q&A part, because this is.
Okay, so people get a report, kind of like it's a financial.
Did I send you a sample CFO report before? I did not. I have one, I think, with me. If not, I'll email it to you. So the CFO, to your point, gets a monthly reconciliation and bank statement. Every check that was paid.
Okay.
They also get, and I think this visual will be helpful here. If I can get back to it in the PowerPoint, we didn't touch on it. It's this page right here.
Uh-huh.
This
She'll
page right here.
have access to a dashboard.
She gets access to the dashboard and
Okay.
a monthly packet, and everything comes already completely signed off and ready to roll, in terms of audit ready purposes.
Okay.
So this dashboard helps you see, and you know, being a car guy, I think of these three things right here at the top, kind of like RPM gauges.
Mhm.
This is just an example, actually, this is actually real data from one of our districts, that left-hand column where you see the RPM gauge. Prior year-to-date cost ratio, 51.9%. You can see they had claims of 1.97 million, but they had funded it at 3.7 million year-to-date, so they were running good. That next month, year-to-date cost versus, revenue, they're running 81.6% medical loss ratio. You know what an MLR is. I know you know what an MLR is. That means is that for every dollar they put into their account for this particular time, they spent 81.6 cents out of every dollar, which means they're still running well. This is the month that you talked about right here, where things went bad. They had some high cost claims. They spent 14.7 cents more per dollar than what they funded it at. So it ran hot at 114.7%. You don't want to be over 100% ever, but in this month they were. This at the bottom shows month over month. That dotted line that runs across horizontally the entire page for the 12-month period, that represents the 60-day reserve amount. In this particular district, you can see, I know it's very small, and I apologize, it did not print out very well. That first gray vertical column says starting fund balance, and I think it says 2.39 million or something like that. So you can see the amount above that dotted line is their amount of excess above the 60-day reserve that they're required to keep. So month over month, they were growing their fund balance in savings account for the rainy day, and then that last month, you'll see that little strip of red on the top of that gray bar graph. That is right here, if you'll see, you see that little bit of red on top of that cell, that is representing what happened here. What they ran over. They went to 114% that month. So they actually decreased their fund balance, but they're still. The goals of district, bless you, the goals of district is to get as much in reserve as you can to help offset the likely strike here without having to do anything major cost increase with your employees.
It should be beautiful. We have that data.
That's what you'll have month over month. Every month, you're gonna get up-to-date data. Your CFO's gonna get the entire financing package, and this is the dashboard that you see how your program's running. Let me touch on one more thing before I just turn it back over for questions. So you will see some today.
I want to see, but I want to go back and look at our ITN. Just go back and look, because I remember us talking about this when we bid this, and we couldn't get the data. And I may be wrong, but did we write it in our contract that we wanted the data? Just ask, just look at it. Just look at it. Okay.
This slide right here, fleet partners and operational components. I just wanted to touch on that real quick. The four cogs in the wheel, if you will, of what makes fleet run. FADS is the administrative organization. I work for FADS and through fleet and for the board members that are members. Avail Analytics does the program management. They do that 112 compliance report that has to occur annually. They work with best practice and general compliance, contract management of vendors that we bring into the program, and doing the IPNs, running the IPNs, doing the analysis, and providing those numbers back to the district. Alliant is our actuarial arm. They run the recommendations for their data says this, what does it mean they should fund their account at? They also place the stop loss. They go shopping for the stop loss and pharmacy benefits parts of the overall plan for fleet member districts. Alliant is a top 5 brokerage house in the world. They do not work with any other school districts inside the state of Florida other than fleet member districts. You only get access to Alliant if you're a Florida school district by being a member of fleet. And they're huge and they have power in the market. That's how we get instead of 2 stop loss carriers to a small district, that's how we get 10 or 12 to the table. FISBIT is the accounting arm. So that dashboard that I just showed you, the CFO package comes monthly with every bit and granular piece of information that you want to see. Comes right out of the FSBA Fisbit office. The accountants that work there, we contract with them to do the bookkeeping and housing of the accounts. So to your point, your account is still your account, but it's at Fisbit with your name on it, and they're managing the overall operation of your program inside of Fisbit from a financial accounting perspective.
Do y'all know what Fisbit stands for?
$22 for us and for and for.
Do y'all know what Fisbit stands for?
No.
That is the Florida School Board Insurance Trust, am I correct?
Hey,
Florida School Board
And
Insurance.
Finn, because that they've been managing trust money for 45 years.
Right.
Okay, so the Superintendent's Association decided, hey, why don't we build a big accounting arm when the School Board Association actually has one that's been running for 45 years. So they decided to contract with them to do all the accounting, and they run, the dashboard comes through Fisbit. And it's almost identical to the dashboard that Fisbit members get on the property casualty side.
This is in your, our general audit that we have every year. You said for auditing purposes, I mean, we get, I don't know, I don't think they come in every year. They come in every 3 years. You have
Every
an
year.
operational audit.
Operational is like, either 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, so when they come in, this operational audit, we, you know, as you know, we stop everything, we.
Yes,
Those people, but have we had, you guys went through an audit yet?
we have districts that are fleet member districts that have been through financial audits.
Okay, how did they fare?
We don't have any, there's, what we have and what we produce, what the district is gonna have is gonna be audit proof.
Okay,
Well, and Fisbit goes through it all in your, a SOC audit, your service organization control audit, which is intensive. Floor to ceiling, everything they do, okay? And they have never had an audit exception. The 11 years that I was there, we never had an audit exception.
that's good.
Well,
And I've met with Fisbit, we were talking about when we first met, I met with him in January 21. I mean, I look at all costs, and we talked about property casualty, which is what we have through PAC. We were coming out of Hurricane Michael, they did us great, you know, and at that time, I didn't think that was a real fit, but, how many districts are with Fisbit? 14.
Yeah.
Property casualty. The consortium has a good group right now, and so, but I've been shopping, you know, meeting to see where can we save money, and this seems to be this rolling out because everybody's not in Fisbit, but everybody's in fads. That was a natural marriage to pull that out, but still have a relationship with Fisbit.
Yeah.
It's made up of some really high quality folks that have some longevity in doing financial stuff, so.
would our retirees still be part of this move? I mean, they would be offered it just as well.
We still have to offer retirees.
Yeah, but you don't get any costs through, Leap for that. You're not charged the PPM on retirees.
You know, that I would get charged 22-25 being there.
Excuse me?
He said earlier that the employees would, per employee, and that's because it's an additional $22. That's their part of paying, right?
It's $22.25 on the number of employees on your plan.
So it's free.
Yes.
So that's what I'm looking at, another $2,200 per month. But that would be our cost, and just say roughly $100 on there. The $26,400, so $37,000 for the first year.
And then.
And then for 10 years, if Kyle raises it, we'll get him fired, but.
I got 122.
25.
But all the savings numbers, we've already calculated that in for districts, so when we say you save the 12%, that's after any cost that you would have with fleet. Okay, those numbers are.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Are you, did that complete your presentation?
I'm just happy to see your talk with you now.
Yeah, and I think great presentation, very simple. I still have a lot, and I am one of those, you know, I'm gonna try to rip it any way I can to make sure that if, you know, before we jump, this is me, you know, I can only speak for me. But I love what you're doing. I've been screaming consortium, I know I'm using the wrong word, trust, whatever it is, for a long time, because I know there's buying power. That's what I did in my past life. I was a procurement person. So, the only thing that concerns me a little bit right now, and again, I'm speaking for myself, this is new. April 2025, we're not even a year in, we will be next year.
Yeah.
Another concern is that we just don't have any, I would love to, and I told you this, and I want to beat this dead horse. I would really like to see if there was a cost savings, you know, when somebody went in at a small size like we're going to be, you know, and what that looks like compared to our current plan, because we're in a contract right now. And we've got renewal clauses right now. So, you know, if we go changing, you know, and we go out there and go on a limb and they go, you know, you're back, you even higher than what you were, or we've got not as good a coverage or not co-pays or whatever. You know, that's something that's very interesting to me. I do have some contacts in some other counties and I will be reaching out to them to see if they've got any, you know, some of their challenges and what they've been going through. I'd love to know what the challenges have been. I don't think we got into that today a little bit, and I don't want to get in those weeds right now, and you did a great job with your presentation, but I still got some questions.
Well, and yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let me say this. Listen, if y'all decide to come to Fleet and vote next month to sign up participation agreement, we will work as hard as we can to get you what you need.
And I have full confidence
Now,
in that.
I'm gonna sit here and tell you, as a superintendent, former superintendent, will you have more data to look at, and will you have more experiences to look at a year from now for your district to help you make your determination? Absolutely, it's gonna look different.
We like that.
You're gonna have more, you're gonna have more look, you're gonna have more, more water will go downstream in the river by this time next year for you to take a look back and see, okay, this is what other districts our size have experienced by going Fleet. So there will be more to look at that.
Yeah,
We'll support you either way.
thank you. Appreciate you.
I'd like to say thank you very much. For everybody, I know it's been a lot of time, a lot of questions. I appreciate y'all. I know everybody has a lot to do on a Monday morning. But thank you for arranging this. Thank you for your time, your schedule, the presentation, the information. I think it's been very valuable. My personal opinion, obviously there's more data that we need. I think this would absolutely be an asset and benefit to every one of the employees within the Liberty County School District. I would like personally to see this added as an action item on next month's or this month's agenda to execute the participation agreement to see more information that you can provide to us. If I'm understanding correctly, we can't get the information we really need to make decisions without that participation agreement. And if I understand correctly as well, if we don't like the data that's presented after we execute that, we don't have to continue forward. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it seems like our next step is the participation agreement. I'm on board with doing that so we can get the data we need. That's just my thought. I know we have until October really to finalize this, but I definitely don't want to rush something in October. So
What I would say to that is if you wanted as a board to go self-insured October 1st, then you would really have to your point, act on it fairly immediately.
Right.
And go to work immediately to get transitioned from fully insured to self-insured.
Right.
Because you have to your point, procure it, right? You got to obtain a carrier, you're gonna obtain stop loss quote, you're gonna get stop loss quotes, you're gonna get PBM contracts, we're gonna benchmark that against the trust contract. There's a lot of things that have to happen.
Right.
To happen October 1st. That would be a.
I wrote on my thing, timeframes, is that doable? Is October, okay, so we got a board meeting next Tuesday. If agenda goes out tomorrow, if we put that on there, and I wanna ask y'all just a little bit more before we leave. If we said that's the direction we wanna go, and we feel good about that, is October 2026 doable?
Can we bring you a solution and you be active by October 1, 2026? Yes.
Yeah, it would seem, yes.
We have open enrollment the first week of August, the first week and a half of August, so I would have to have rates and everything we're gonna do by then.
That's correct.
No pressure.
And we've got a termination clause in our contract with CHP, and I'm assuming it's gonna be 90 days. So, huh?
You got 100 days work.
That's what I'm saying. You wrote.
It's
I'm
fine.
So here, this is gonna be my thing. I don't wanna rush nothing and go, boy, we missed that, or we neglected that, even unintentionally. I wanna make sure this is something that is win-win for everybody. Finance, staff, y'all, everything. what is the pleasure of the board as far as making this an agenda item for next week?
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah, okay. You wanna talk to me individually?
Yep.
Okay, that'd be good.
May I ask one more question?
Rush.
What other data would you be able to provide without a participation agreement?
The only thing we could probably get you, to board member Bailey's point, is data relative to other school districts that have now been in a while in terms of what Charlotte, for example, Charlotte's been around, Henry Hardy, DeSoto, they've been around a long time. We could show you kind of over time how their programs have run in terms of, what decreases they've taken, how their board is funded. What savings they got. And I know DeSoto, I think, was the county that I was alluding to earlier, that we saved on the pharmacy. Yeah, it was, right? Yep. We leveraged Florida Blue down to, so we could to your point, we could say, okay, by being a member of Fleet, DeSoto saved X number of dollars by coming to Fleet on just their pharmacy alone. I can give you a hard number on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can get
Something.
we can.
Well, she's more alluding to like the
Yeah.
contributions of other districts.
Yeah.
The employee contributions, that type of thing, to see where they got to their number. That's kind of what you're asking.
Kind of, but I mean, I know there are
You wanna
probably
see some
more
data.
than us. I wanna see, I need to see some data. And I'll tell you something, if we go self-insured, I'm still not, you gotta go self-insured.
Yeah.
Before we can go into this, right?
Yeah.
That's what Dixie's doing right now. What are we gonna do for that? We're gonna piggyback off of try to piggyback off of Calhoun, but where's our insurance gonna be at?
No, you're
You
gonna
stay where you're at.
You stay where you're at, you're gonna be CHP,
Okay.
theoretically, right up, not theoretically,
Okay.
right up to September 30th of 2026.
I think it's out of.
September 30, 2026, CHP, right up to that line. October 1st would be whoever was selected through an ITM process as your ASO, Administrative Services Only, which would be Florida Blue, United, Cigna, Aetna, there's Meritain, there's a lot of carriers out there, UMR, UMR, the subsidiary of United Healthcare. So all that would start, when I say active date, when I say active, I mean active self-insured with a new carrier, with your PBM contract in place, with your stop loss contract in place, with your plan, basically, it's up and running day one, October 1st.
So. Communication hat on again. There would need to be a full-blown information sent out to everyone. And I mean, like, letting people know, and even maybe some internal, like your executive staff, they need to be meeting with people to, if we decide to do this. I mean, because we know for definite, we're not gonna have CH. If we go this route, we're definitely not gonna have CHP folks. So I think information is critical here because, people don't like change too much.
Yeah, we kind of need to know.
Well, and let me share this.
That's very.
No, hey, you need to flood people with information because right now, for the survey, there's a lot of satisfaction with CHP. So if you change
I
that,
know.
there needs to be a really, again, a good informational campaign to say, this is the direction we're going to, and CHP is not gonna be a part of that equation, but here's gonna be the benefits. Now, here's a good question. Why don't we do this in the fall?
But that's what.
Hold on. Because Ted and I are talking and he's going, these carriers don't want to come in CHP districts. Y'all remember me saying that at the board meeting? That's why I told y'all at the last board meeting, hey, good news for Ted. They're like, we're gonna go ahead and get in there. He and I have talked monthly, every other month. We have been talking because he said right now, and he even shared that with us, with Katie and with Mason. It's a little bit of a turf deal. They were avoiding the CHP districts.
That's correct.
And so that's why they didn't want to quote numbers. But then when he and I talked, he said, hey, good news, got some new information for you. They're ready to come to the table. They've worked out whatever they had worked out. I don't need to know what
Will they be ready to come, and give us, if we were to decide to go and have a much longer time, you don't say like, like maybe next October, no, October 2027. So we've got time, we got 120 days.
Okay,
That right there is like drinking from you know.
I think having more time and being more sensitive is always a good thing.
Well, we're not-
I'm not gonna push anything on it. I don't wanna put y'all, this is my heart.
Can we just put a survey out and see how they feel if we?
Well, here's the thing, I don't wanna put something on y'all where you gotta go chop, chop. I need y'all to make a decision now. Because you know, look, there's a couple things going on here. It's not much time to answer those questions, and especially now with the time that we have, if it's gotta be that fast, that's where misinformation goes out there. And it could actually foul things up for maybe a year from now. I'm okay with being slow and deliberate, and let's make sure we answer as many questions. There's gonna be some people that don't matter if you answer every question, they're gonna say, I don't like it, I don't wanna do it. And it doesn't matter how much information you do that, but right now, we've got an operational audit starting.
Well, it's this fiscal.
Yeah. We have operational audit coming up. We got a bunch of things coming up this year.
I don't wanna
Right
cost
now.
I don't wanna cost our employees any money,
I agree.
you know, any more money. You know, like even hanging on to it for another year, if it costed them that much money and we saw 3-year data, oh my, wow, we are gonna get that 12 or 7 to 12%, you know, then that might be a determining factor, but I don't have that data. To even come in here and go, yeah, let's roll it. That's a very squeezed time.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I go real quick, that I do think, minimum, we're gonna have an 8 to 10% increase with CHP, that's minimum. I couldn't tell you what our loss ratio is, I don't know right now, we're only halfway through the year. But, that's just looking back and kind of what we've been doing, and we were lucky and fortunate to only have a single digit increase the last 2 years. Most districts were at 13%.
Most districts were double
When is
digit.
that increase coming though? I mean, is it? we're fixing to go
We'll
back?
have to have it
July.
a lot, because you have to approve it in order for me to get ready for my open enrollment in August.
And by July, if we were to decide now to go with, you know, the fleet, we would be giving them a termination letter. When does our contract expire?
So it's September 30, 2026.
September 30. Oh, yeah. We get back up.
I got a question on that.
Okay, so we, you know, we're taking a chance by going back in with CHP.
Yeah.
You're gonna have an increase and it very well could easily be double digit.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
And-
I squirm every time we get that call, and there was one time that they told us 14%. And I literally went to the CHP office, and I am not kidding, I took them Tupelo money and a gift basket. And I said, let me tell y'all something, this is Liberty County, and it wasn't trying to bribe nobody, it was saying, this is who we are. Okay, I might have my Gambro CD in there somewhere, you know, us singing, this is who we are poor people, and we depend on our resources, our natural resources. And much past the schools and the C.W. Roberts and the prisons and the GPs, we don't have people here who make a lot of money. And I had all my data that said about 11 to 12% of the people pay 100% of the property tax in Liberty County. And now we're looking at that being changed in the legislature. We need some help. We need help. And you know what? I walked out there with a single digit.
Yeah, I know you did.
And so what I'm saying is, I'm okay with any of us and all of us lobbying for our district, which we do. But it could be double digit, you know, and again, I wanna listen to you, and this means I think we need to have some one-on-one conversations. But if the board says move forward, then we do need to go ahead and sign that agreement.
We don't have to pay $50,000, do we?
That's all it is, participation. Before you get, right?
Yeah, within 60 days of the participation.
Okay, so when we sign the participation, we got.
But with that being said, that was a question I want to ask. If we sign the participation agreement, it's still, if we're not satisfied with not satisfied, but if we don't feel like we've gotten all the data that we need, it still could be October of 2027 before we feel good about it. So we're signing a participation agreement, but we're not saying in doing that,
that you're.
All right, we're gonna sign the contract and be live in 36. It could be
Correct,
next
that
year.
is
Are
correct.
we gonna get our money back if we decide not to go?
No.
No, okay.
So we could go ahead and
Huh?
we could work,
It done.
so we could go ahead and put it on the agenda, Jody, for next week. But that doesn't mean we have to go with this year. It could be next year before
We
we're
gotta-
just,
So we
we're
have
just
6
out
days
in
to
grade
make it.
Will you be,
or not.
so my,
Or not?
Well, if we wind up going with it in 2027, our 10,000's already paid, you
I
want
understand that, but if you don't go, if we decide
We're
not
out
to go with it, we're out $10,000. How, don't get it out of his.
We got, can I tell you, we made double payment.
Right now.
Jody knows this because I told her, we made a double payment on the market tax credit thing. There's an extra 10 grand. It's actually, there's an extra 10 grand just sitting there in that capital one account. So we made, me and James did it when we first started. The very first payment we made, we thought it was monthly payment, so we made 2 monthly payments. It's actually quarterly payments. So we actually have an extra 10,000
So
that's
that's-
sitting in there.
Okay.
We do have, we got.
We're not figuring on, we're just throwing that away. We're figuring on probably going with this, but we need to see some more information.
Just add to real quick, I think to talk on what Mr. Jody's saying is, like, say we're with Aetna, and we've been with Aetna before, like. What I feel like she's saying, what I feel like, employees would want to know, and I'm someone who has this insurance, I have employee child insurance. So I would want to know, what are my premiums gonna be? They may not be able to tell us, per se, what my premium, as in, what is my copay, that's the word I'm saying, what is my copay, am I paying $15, $20? Do these CHP doctors in Tallahassee, where we already are all established, do they take that? Like, those to me are things we've got to know to be able to.
That's the disruption.
Right,
So-
that is what I feel like she's saying, because.
It's an easier sell if that's already, that work's been done.
Yeah, and I think we need to do that before we send communication out, we've got to be able to answer all, but yes, you can keep your same doctors if you're with the Tallahassee, CHP, you know, whatever.
Southern Medical Group.
Yeah.
That's a big, that's a big.
Huge.
Probably everybody does any kind of heart or blood pressure or whatever goes through Southern Medical Group. So it'd be great, what you're saying, it'd be great to say, hey, if you've been on CHP and they do Southern Medical Group, if we went with that, they also take, Southern Medical Group also.
Yeah,
Maybe even
Yeah.
send out a, who are your providers in these, like if you have those, who's your provider? So people could start looking ahead of time and go, okay, Dr. Berry, cardiologist, she's good, we good with Southern Medical Group, we're good. I think if we had that information, kind of give them a snapshot of saying, look, it's not gonna be that big a change. On from a financial standpoint and making sure, because that's our job, that. What does it look like from another county that's comparable or just a little bit higher? What are they getting? So we could say, hi, we're pretty good, guys. We might come down more than 7%. I would love to say that, instead of jumping over here and trying to renegotiate and possibly a double digit with CHP, knowing we've got to go in and give them a termination clause. I just think there's just a lot. And
I also want to say, like, last year, CHP for us, and I'm talking employee principal plan, not the value plan, but principal plan, employee only. The increase was gonna be about, say, $65 a month. Well, if you remember, I said, let's increase the board contribution $45 so that we could absorb majority of that single plan. They only had to pay $15 out of pocket because, again, we hadn't done raises, hadn't done that. So, I don't know if that's what it's gonna look like this year, if we're gonna be able to take the majority of the cost. So those are things we need to, as best we can, keep into consideration and keep in mind. I still think overall you're gonna say yes, but it's hard to do no numbers.
if you don't have numbers to
Right.
compare to, but again, I do want to go back and this is something we're gonna go back and look at. And like I said, when we got into the RFP, it was an ITN last time. We didn't have data. I remember that. I want to go back in that ITN and make sure we stipulated about, we want the data at the end. There was something we worked on that we were just crazy about. But anyway, let's go back and look at that. And if we have that data, it'd be a beautiful thing. It'd be to,
even if we just had all of the providers that your people had used over the course of the last year, to be able to run that disruption factor report against, say, hey, this network, all but two of y'all would be able to keep your doctor, and we'll get the
Well,
other
we
two signed.
probably can get that. I'm pretty sure that network, we've got a network.
That might be,
That might be on our dashboard now of who all our doctors are and whatever. Now, is this just health or is this dental?
Just health.
Just health. What we gonna do with our,
Well, our dental and vision is through standard, that's.
and they hadn't increased.
No, they haven't increased in years.
10 years.
okay, okay, so with
Is
that,
that
we'll all back out of that and.
Right.
Okay, okay.
We might be working on something with the dental vision thing with a self-insured pool. We're not there yet.
Not there yet.
The big tug for everybody is health insurance. I don't care what
Yeah.
district you're in, if you got 100 employees or if you got 10,000 employees. The processes, the procedures, the pains that go along with health insurance are all the same. Everybody's dealing with the same animal in terms of how much cost increase is coming. So, that's what we're focused on.
So if I understand correctly, you might be able to give us some information from other counties, but to know exactly what the Liberty County School Board would have available to its employees for insurance. The participation agreement will be required to be able to really start the communication. Because you're gonna use your resources, your manpower, womanpower, right, your human resources
Correct.
to start acquiring data, acquiring information, acquiring numbers, acquiring everything that we would need to be able to start the communication of information to our employees.
Right.
To let everyone know that we're looking at this option. So if I understood, so once you really get into it, you might find that there's only two companies, or maybe you find there's four companies, right? When you really get into it, that could be available to us that we have the option to pick from, right? And then we start really getting into price structure, what our price would be. We can talk about some of the fine details to pinpoint where we want price to be. And then we can still use this information, receive this information, communicate this information to all of the employees within the school district as a phased-in approach to decide, okay, you know what? We have all the information we need and we're happy, and we're gonna go forward with October of this year, or, hey, you know what? We don't have enough time. We're missing certain key components and information. Maybe we have hard numbers, but we don't have some of the details like the disruption report figured out. We haven't heard response from employees. We don't know what it looks like. Maybe we need to wait till next year, but you're saying you're pretty sure you'll give us a hard number, which means we've got to go to CHP. We can say CHP, hey, look, we got this other option over here that's gonna save us 7%. You're charging us 10% more. We ain't buying it.
A good negotiation point, no doubt.
100%, so it would at the worst be a negotiation point.
They really-
price. At the best, it would be, we have everything in line, we're comfortable where we're at, and we can execute this effectively. Come, I guess, open enrollment time in August, right, to be effective in October.
Yeah.
So, again, my view is, the way I see this, yeah, we might be out 10,000, but I do think this is the way that the future is looking. And to be honest with you, sometimes we got to step out to continue to show support, because it went from 5,000 to 44,000 from almost the last time we talked. So as far as we know, it might be 100,000 in the next year and a half. So I think it's important for us to do our part for savings. 100% I'm on board with Ms. Jody. We need that information and we want that information, because we can't make a decision of what type of contract we want to execute with y'all about.
And I would like to have another workshop when we get that data. And us to sit down and talk and really air out all of this and just peel it back, because like I said, I don't want to drink from a fire hose. I want us to really do our homework, let our staff know be very transparent about what we're doing. And again, we've got a vendor, we've got a contractor right now. And, there's a renewal going to get signed or not going to get signed. That has to go through its legal process. So, I just, again, I'm that cautious person. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and you know, everybody might be on the same page but me. I don't think we've sat here and talked as a board like we should, and that's, you know, sit down and really had a good conversation with our CFO too.
It's a huge.
It's big.
It's-
That's-
I wanna share just a few things, in a perfect situation, which we tried to do last year. I'm just going back looking, I love, you know, go back and look at, notes and stuff. We actually met in July. We met in the summer. That's when all of us, Mason, you and I, and Katie, we all met. Because I think we met July the 16th. So we were meeting in the summer, knowing we were not going to have anything for October.
Right.
We were meeting about 16 months in advance, thinking possibly October 2026 would be doable. We're meeting in July of 2025. Okay, so I want y'all to know, we've made that commitment, but he was very transparent. Right now, we got a problem. This is, you know, we're talking, that these companies are not wanting to deal with CHP districts. So we've had this conversation, and I'm going back.
We're just now meeting.
It's just now kind
It's
of clear.
just
So I wanted y'all to know that I've done my due diligence. Ted's been a partner in this. And look, here, October 7th, just checking in, got some board members who asking about stats for fleet for CHP districts. Ted says there's some things going on in that arena. I have to circle back with you. We're still talking. Hey, I'm following up. This was in October. He and I have continued this dialogue, but until now we've got some green lights. So if I had a perfect world again, I would say, well, let's start that conversation almost, you know, well in advance. But I absolutely don't want to push anything down anybody's throat, and I hear y'all saying that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to them. I don't want to do that to Katie. I don't want to do that to our finance staff. I don't want it to be something, but if it's something that y'all say, let's go, let's roll, then what he's saying is, you know, it could happen. But I want to make sure that y'all fully know, there's a real element of faith here as well.
Yes.
There are some great unknowns. You don't know exactly. He can't tell you. He'd be lying if he did to come say, you're going to say 12%. I'm going to tell you. He can take that data and make projections, and still could be wrong in the projections due to what happens in that contract year. This conversation did not start just here recently. When Sue Summers became superintendent in 2008, we started having conversations about self-insured programs. We went through that. At that time, we had 3 people who were actively cancer patients who were going through chemo, and y'all know who a lot of these folks were. Some of y'all very close. And I remember at the time, in talking to some insurance folks, they said, not a good time to probably start that program. We had a lot of older employees at that time who were going through a lot of surgeries, different things. And I remember us meeting in Sue's office at the old location, and it was just one of those things that we kind of went around the room and said, sounds like a great program. But and we were spurred on by Calvin County, who was sitting there, hadn't done it since '85. Daryl swears by it. Now his mom and dad started that program. Miss Mary Lou was the finance person, and they did that. It might have even been Howard Johnson. I can't remember who was superintendent back then, but they've continued that, and they like it. But they've got 19 from 85. How many years is that? That's 40 plus years of successful things, and they've had good years and they've had bad years. But it's worked for them. And at some point they had to take a leap of faith to jump on this. It is a change. But again, I want unity. This is my wishes as Kyle. I want unity for the board. To me, this is something that really ought to be a 5-0 vote, and that everybody feels good about. If you don't, I understand that, and I have to respect that. But I would ask that everybody has their questions answered. Jody, I agree with you. Another workshop, once maybe we get something. Let's sit here and vet this. And at the end of the day, because here's what's going to happen, our employees, as they should, and our constituents are going to, your constituents are going to say, what did you do in making this process? Because it does fundamentally change everything about insurance, health insurance for our employees, for our district, for retirees and everything. And I want y'all to feel confident to say, We did our due diligence. We vetted the heck out of it. We looked at this, and at the end of the day, we felt like this was a good move.
And I'd like to have some feedback from the staff. I mean, I am not.
We can do the surveys. If y'all will give me questions, I will absolutely.
Love this. Can this be shared?
Absolutely, sure, absolutely.
Hey, I mean, and it's not on it's on our website.
I will do that.
It's
I will do
right
that.
to the website.
I will do that. I will
Yeah.
send that out and say, look,
Say, hey,
here's
y'all-
what, cause I told them this
Look at this
morning, if y'all saw my Monday messages.
Right.
I told them what we were doing today. And I told them, I said, the board hadn't made any decisions. We're just talking about it.
Yeah,
So I'll be glad to send that out to them and let them look at it as well. And y'all get some feedback.
and allow them to ask questions about this
Absolutely.
too. I mean, hey, you have any questions?
We'll
Send it
ask.
to us. And when we get there, when we get to this point, we'll have, we may have more questions for you. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause stuff that we didn't ask here. And I'm sure other counties just didn't say, oh, we'll sign the agreement, but there had to be some kind of process. that they
You'd
went
be
through.
surprised, in some, very little to none, and others, 6 to 9 months worth of process. Everybody's different, every
Yeah.
board makeup is different, every superintendent's different, right? And so, to your point, I love driving God's country all around our area of the world. I'll come back.
Country.
It's flying in Fayette, too. I live in Lafayette now.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, we don't mind coming back. The second, the third, the fourth, the sixth, whatever number of times we gotta come back over the next 6 months or the next year and a half. Doesn't bother us, doesn't cost you anything. To have us come talk to your people, talk to your teachers, have a meeting with your insurance and benefits committee folks. All I'm gonna tell them is what I know,
Right.
tell them that it's not good. And there may be new information that they get next time that you didn't get, because we learned something between this month and last month, those new districts came along, right? But, I don't ever, to your point, I don't want you all to feel pressured at all to do anything as far as making the decision until the superintendent, you all reach that point where you're comfortable. But we'll come back and, have our meetings. This doesn't have to be one and done.
Well, I am 100%, I am 100%, anything that will save the staff, because I do think, that you, like I told you in the beginning, it's not right, it's not fair. That we can't get the rates that's 50 miles away, less than 50 miles away from us. And majority of people, a lot of people work for the state government here too. And I'm not just talking about Liberty. I think the school districts should be treated as state employees. That's my opinion, and I'll preach it to the bitter end. Now, can we give $22,000, every month for it? No, you can't do that, but I think the state should ante up and do it. That's just the way I feel about it. They make enough money. So, and we put enough money back in their state coffers too, by the way. We put money back over there. So anyway, I just want a lot of transparency here. If we could save money and save our employees money, 100%. And I do believe that buying power does save money. So I'm with you all the way. Love it, love it, love it. I just need some more.
Would now be a good time to send out emails to employees to say, hey, if there's a particular doctor or facility or whatever that you have to see, need to see, please let us know, and we could get it with you to start looking at a disruption report, just to have preliminary data, just to start.
Katie says she should be able to get.
Hey, isn't there something on our dashboard that shows or something on CHP that shows our providers right now?
I will ask, can I get it?
There is,
Yeah,
there is.
That should be-
yeah, they should get that, and that way we'll have something up here.
So,
Because I have Blue Cross. I had CHP when I was in the state, but now I have a company plan of Blue Cross Blue Shield, so I'm with them already. And I don't, did not go with the insurance for the school, cause it's high. I mean, it's, so anyway, I would love to see that. I still wanna dig in that ITN, so don't let me.
Well, look,
Yeah, please,
sure.
let's not forget about that,
I did it.
because there may be some data somewhere somehow.
Yeah, if you don't get the data, I can generally tell you from listening to Darren and enjoying everybody talk is that. We tell you to go ahead and get your renewal from CHP, okay, if it comes back at 18%, okay. And if you decide to go self-funded, we have no data to deal with, at that point, our recommendation would be that you go with an 18%, and then the 7 to 12% is going to kick that down some. Okay, but you have to realize, especially in the beginning, you don't want to make a mistake, a big mistake. Okay, you really want to make sure you are on the safe side, okay, when you're building this out. And the other thing I would say, you know, from taking a district self-insured years ago, okay, Citrus County, this is a long play game. This is not that you want to get in, then get out, get in, get. You do that, you're a disaster. Okay, you have, like Calvin kind of made that decision, and they stuck with it, and they funded it well, and managed it well. If you do those things, okay, self-insurance, big self-insurance won't save you money, okay? But it's a commitment on your part, okay? And the reality is that you're gonna have some good years, you're gonna have some bad years, yep, still, okay? But at the end of it, I can just tell you, working with insurance, I've ever worked 17 years now, with school districts exclusively, okay? You're gonna pay your claims, one way or the other. Yep. That's the reality. That's the bottom.
I would personally, I know what if the board wants to say, I would personally like to hear from Katie and what's your thoughts on this?
I kind of leaning towards going to it, honestly. I don't have to add another staff, so the fact that they handle all that is a selling point for me. I again, as someone who has the insurance personally, yes, I want something cheaper. I like CHP for the fact of the low premium or the low copays, and just because my doctors are here.
Right.
I don't really want to have to change doctors, and not that I have a ton, but
You may not have to.
I may not have to, right?
What's your thoughts on, you know, for sure, you know, we're the superintendent, we're the board. As far as, and Lisa, you're welcome to weigh in as well. You know, from a standpoint of what kind of notification would y'all want, from a staff standpoint, like, instead of us just pushing it out and go, oh, by the way, no, we're all saying, like, so, or whatever.
You know, at least 3 or 4 months out if you could. I mean, again, because these employees are gonna have to make a decision come August 1st when they're at open enrollment.
So 3 or 4 months prior to August 1st.
Yeah, like, so really, by the end of April, I'd like to know
Now,
where are we going, you know? And if that's doable for everybody.
didn't y'all say Florida Blue is exactly the same as CHP as far as the network?
7 days.
No, that just, Florida Blue is 51% of CHP.
But their networks aren't.
They may not be exactly the same. though.
When did that happen?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I was
Not
talking
recently.
about this. I had the same issue that you had with the employees at FSBA. Okay, it was only CHP, and CHP, every now and then can be unpleasant. Okay. It can be unpleasant. Like everybody gets to, but I had big issues with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, okay, but in Citrus County, because they were nice. They were exorbitantly charging us, okay, versus the claims, okay, for whatever reason. So I had issues with them back in the day. But, you know, what was I got off track. I apologize. Yeah, so, it's just one of those things that you have to play their game. They play a lot of games with you, but you don't see. Okay, and Avail, one of the good things about Avail is we have 2 people who were on the dark side for years. Okay, they're on the dark side for years, and now they came to the light. All right, and they're helping school districts because they know all the games that are played on the backside because they play them.
That's good to have them.
So now, you know, Joe and Darren and them, they peek behind the curtain and they go, oh, no, you're not gonna charge us that.
Yeah.
That's really one of the strengths that we have. And it really started under FIS, but we started trying to look at, because we're 10 school people.
Yeah.
You know,
You better have people that know how to play the game.
yes, you better have some
Learning
people
the
that are
program on the back end.
And that one actually was one of the reasons I was like, this was one of our new things was to have other people evaluate, you know, this IT. I will sit here and tell you, you know, one Florida statutes requires if you're on a negotiation team, that you have expertise in in the services being sold. Well, I'm not an insurance person. Mason's dealt with insurance, you know, and I'll be honest, probably some other ones may have too, but I don't have that expertise. So I want somebody at the table that kind of knows something about insurance. And so I respect that. And they're, like I said, when you come from the dark side, come out behind the curtain and get on the good side, it's a great thing to have on your team.
Which is what the brokers use as exactly what they'll say, this is what we deal with. We know insurance. We deal with this every day, and that's how they make their pitch to a school district or a county commission or something, to let us be the one who does that negotiation for you. We're not married to anybody. We can go get anybody we want, you know, but you pay for that service. You do pay for that service. And in this model, you eliminate that middleman person. I've had some conversations with some brokers, and they're like, y'all need to be real careful out of that fleet now. And y'all better be real careful, you know, right at the shoot, you challenge their business model. And again, it's not a bad business model. It's not a bad business. It's not an immoral business model.
No.
It's a business model. It's what they do to sell insurance. It's what, you know, you have a broker when you buy a car. You got a salesman out there who is trying to broker a deal. You have it maybe when you know, you'll have that with land. People will say, well, I don't want to have to pay a broker, you know, to sell my piece of property. But then the broker says, but this is what we do. And we can sell, we'll get you a higher price. Maybe, you know, we can show more people. We have a network of online, you know, all this kind of stuff. And then you may decide when you do it, but you will pay that 3%, 5%. It's a negotiable amount. You'll pay for that. And that's where the savings for us comes in. When he mentioned CHP, they tell you 7%, I think 6.5% or whatever they put in there, they call it administrative fee or whatever they call it. They tell you up front what it's going to be. And that's non-negotiable. I've tried to negotiate that with them. No, that's what we get. But that's them not actually, you know, taking that 7% and going around and trying to find the best deal. That's just with CHP. We've had brokers here in the past that work for 1%, and would try to get us, you know, stuff, and that was all in writing. So I'm just saying there's a golden opportunity. And I'll shut up and say this. My goal last year was, if Ted would have told me, if he'd given us the information we have today back in July, we probably could have spent the fall, you know, it probably been ready to make a decision in January for October. No, we don't have, we don't have that time. Again, not his fault, not my fault. We just, things have changed as this thing's evolved. Is it doable? Yes, but we don't have near the runway that we'd have had before. So, I will be glad to send this out to the folks. And as we'll check back in, see if we can get any data, and we can workshop this again, and go from there. And again, nobody needs no pressure for me to push it, but Katie makes a great point. There will be an increase, and there has been every year for the last 25 years that I've been here, except for the Aetna years. We've had increases every year, and it's been low.
1.2 million.
Yeah.
That's what it costs us per year,
What was they doing last year?
What?
What was the increase?
8%.
8.
So we're glad to get it. We're almost $120,000 increase then, is what you're telling me. We're at 10 about that same line.
Now the board, if y'all remember, we were able to absorb some of that. What Katie and I talked about is that single person who comes in here, if we can get them next to nothing for insurance, that attracts new teachers, young teachers, single teachers.
Well, that's the majority. We have 50 people on the principal choice and 21 on the value plan for employee only. That's the majority where everybody sits. We have a few on the other plans.
Right. So
And you don't realize, you bring their insurance down, that's what that means.
And
it is.
It is. And I feel like that's what's gonna happen, like we're gonna be able to,
A literal raise.
yeah.
That's like literally more cash we had to give as a.
Luke, talk to us.
Even if you send us out, everybody wants information. The first thing that all the employees are going, what's it gonna cost me? And then my doctor there, that's information we can't give them. I mean, it doesn't matter. We send it out.
Maybe you need to-
I'll work it out.
Can we get some information?
How about we do this? I'll word out a draft email. And if I miss, I'll send that out to y'all to look. And if you think I've missed something or you say, hey, can you make sure, we'll put that in there and send it out.
And we may have to do a FAQ on this too, and just stick it out there, you know, if they send in these questions, like we do with our solicitations, a Q&A, and then, you know, it'll be a live document. And then they, you know, what are we paying, you know, what could we potentially increase this time? And just keep revising that document. I know that's some workload, but it shouldn't be that hard just to upload a PDF, but I think that's something that they need like a forum to go ask questions in.
I've got no doubt, it's gonna be cheap. CHP, I mean, they're kind of like the Florida Public Utilities, because that's the equivalent to it. They're gonna stick it to you and get it, but if they can, they're not making any money off of it, so they gotta get it where they can. I mean, not state of Florida, but.
I just think there still needs to be some communication.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. They're gonna beat some of that. It's just. The information, I know it'll be cheaper, no doubt. I mean, I got it myself. I mean, I can get it cheaper through my job, no doubt. But that one of the things there is my doctor. I had to check, make sure, are these doctors for my wife come in where they weren't? So I made an educated and informed decision. I'm gonna stay with the CHP over here. But it's the disruption part of it. I mean, y'all are part of changing that if you get in, and we are too. People that go into it, we gotta make it. If you
There will be people not happy.
Yeah, you're gonna have some that are gonna be very happy, and you're gonna be rest free. At the end of the day, I mean, we gotta make a decision sooner rather than later. I mean, I'm not saying we're gonna make it this year, but.
I
This is all the
I
information.
mean, if we're right on the.
It's doable for this year. I do think it's doable for us to go this year. I just think we've got to be like on top of this, and we gotta get the
Yeah.
questions answered, and we gotta get the information we need, and
Yeah,
so forth.
Yeah.
I do
You got a
think it's
month,
doable.
you got pretty much a month and a half to get all this Q&A and everything else, the new anything, whatever, we got about a month and a half, and I'm kind of leaning with Jody on that, that's kind of getting it.
getting down to the wire on some time, and that's scrunching everybody, and I, you know, again, I don't. I think-
Employees.
I think the employees, I'm sorry, y'all. We've all been friends pretty much all our lives, even all the way down to Kyle, so we know each other very well. So sometimes. Yeah.
It's
No, I used to ride with you, I used to sit him in the seat on the school bus.
I just said her laugh.
What? Yes. We've known each other a long time, so it don't matter if we argue, we gonna walk out the door.
Doobie was our ag teacher.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been a great presentation
thank you.
and a lot of good discussion. Feel we got no way to go, and I think we want to do it, guys. Appreciate everybody coming out, don't drive enough. Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Motion,
Need a motion to adjourn,
motion.
Mr. Jody, second.
Yes.
Second. Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Mr. King.
So you live in the fake. I did. I've heard that word where you don't listen. I thought it was.
Yes.
Property down there, actually outside of Brandon.
Yeah.
Yes.